Hey everyone, this is Dan with the Spiritual Underground Podcast. Just going to give you a little update. This episode is going to be a little different than some others, although this is certainly not a first. Primarily, the Spiritual Underground Podcast is a 12-step recovery podcast where folks come in and talk about the recovery journeys from the depths of the madness to escape via the 12 steps. Now and again, have somebody in who recovered from various other things and using various other methods. But today is a story of what happens when, in this particular case, 3 men change the course of their lives, enter this life of recovery, and the joy and the adventure that is a result of that. 2 of my very best friends, Shane and Travis, joined me. And actually what happened is I joined them for a week in the Colorado Rocky Mountains in pursuit of elk and mule deer. Recorded a session prior to the trip where Mark was also involved. He was planning to go, and he went on this trip last year. He ended up with a sprained ankle right before the trip, and I can promise you this trip is nothing that you would want to do with a sprained anything. Pushed me to my limits and beyond, and I had body parts barking at me the way they were, and none of them were hurt before I started. So there's a little pre-anticipation before the trip, a little session of that. Record a little audio up on the mountain with at Shane's elk that he killed. Capture a little of the energy there. And then our after action report. I apologize that I did not record any video or audio during Travis's harvest, to use those terms. Just didn't think about it. We were up there, and as you'll hear, we had something else on our mind besides that, and it just slipped my mind, and I didn't do it. You don't ever get that stuff back, so it is what it is. So what we'll start off with here is I called it the pre-meeting. It was a little sit-down episode to juice on each other for the anticipation of the upcoming event. All right. Well, last year when you guys come in and sat down at that podcast table and started talking about this, man, I'd been itching about the big time Fomo since you all took off, and really did a lot to like shove it down to say, no, just don't FOMO. It ain't no big deal. They let them do their thing, and they're gonna have a good time and lay off of it. But it was tough. And then, because it's always been a bucket list thing of mine to go out there in the mountains and hunt. And one of them, along with that, was the true bucket list item was to go out there and bow hunt elk. I try not to be too cornered in on one idea today, so I'm kind of letting go of the details on it. But when you all came in and sat down in the studio and started telling this story, man, I knew if there was a way for me to be here this year that I was going to make that happen. However that went down. So, I guess I really do. I felt like I was with you for that couple hours that y'all were in the studio. So, I'm super looking forward to going this year, man. Everybody's been juicing over gear and talking and counting down the days and getting our shit together. Everybody doing their thing to make sure they're ready for the trip. And I think I really got a lot of confidence that everybody is as ready as we can be. Maybe not no David Goggins ready, but ready as normal mortal beings are. Mm-hmm. So, Shane, what you got, man? What's been going on? What have you been doing to prep, and what have you been doing to keep the excitement level from blowing the top of your head off?
Man, yeah, that's the hard part is I was trying not to think about it at all as far as like, I just now packed up my pack a few weeks ago, and I was carrying like a 50-pound pack before, but it didn't have my gear in it and stuff, and I've been doing that like every day. Not every day. I try to do it every day, at least 4 miles, and just walk around what I walked around last year to help me get through this past year when we went up there and helped me prepare for it, man. So here recently, I put every single thing that I'm taking with me to Colorado in this bag, in this pack, and it's 50 pounds, which is right where I want it to be. And I splurged this year, and I said I'm going to take one luxury item, and that's a big ass fucking tent, because that little bitty ass tent I took up there last year was not comfortable. I did not like having to crawl in the snow to get into my tent and then cover back up. Fuck that. I want something big. I got me a 4-man tent so I can sprawl out and do whatever. I can stand up and change in, you know, not have to be laying on the floor trying to get all my gear on and rolling around in this little bitty ass fucking tent. So,
Yeah.
um,
You can, I've been ODing on stuff on the internet, podcasts and YouTube stuff and everything. And, you know, if I heard two things said over and over again, it's get in shape before you do something like this.
yes.
And make it possible for you to get good sleep while you're there. If
Yeah.
I
So
heard it, number one and number two.
I got a good mat that Travis gave me last year. Worked perfectly. I got a good sleeping bag. I got some pillows. I ordered 2 pillows the other day. I've already been using them. They're freaking awesome. You just blow them up, and they're so lightweight. It's ridiculous. And you can kind of like adjust the pressure on them so they're perfect. You know, make the perfect pillow for yourself. And um, the practice of getting up every day and putting that pack on and going out, I don't even feel like I'm carrying a pack anymore. Like I feel like I practiced more this year with a pack on and weight than I did last year. And it doesn't even feel like I'm putting anything on, man. And that's a good fucking feeling.
Yeah,
You're putting that much weight on your back and packing it around 4 miles. And it almost, you know, I'm running not running, but going a 3.6 mile an hour pace with a 50-pound pack on my back up and down hills. You know, not all hills, but you know, there are a few. And it just feels fucking good to get out there. And while I'm out there too, I'm just kind of reliving last year a little bit, you know, and thinking about this year. And every time I go out, it just motivates me to go, because there's a lot of mornings that I do not want to get up and do that. And I do it anyway. And I feel so much better after I do it. I'm already dropping some weight, and I'm planning on dropping at least 10 more pounds before we head out in 10 days or 12 days. But I've been wearing the last 2 days, I've been wearing this actual sweatsuit that makes you sweat a lot and with my pack on and walking, you know, 4 miles with this thing on. And when I get done, I pull it off. I mean, water just dumps out of this thing because I'm
I
just
think the
trying
wrestlers and fighters use those suits to make weight.
Yep. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make weight for this fight, dude, because it's going to be a journey of a lifetime, man. And again, you know, and the cool thing about this is like, the way I live my life today compared to what it used to be, I'm actually experiencing life. I'm not just living life. I'm actually experiencing it. I didn't even feel like I was alive before any of this stuff. So I'm trying to pull that recovery in here too. But, you know, I didn't feel alive. I was just going through the motions of life. And now I'm actually living my life and experiencing it. And I get to experience it with you guys, you know what I'm saying? And you're along with me on this fucking journey, experiencing life with me. And I couldn't ask for a better crew to do it with.
Yeah, no doubt, man. There's no fucking way I would even entertain this if I was still using it. Wouldn't be, I wouldn't jump through the hoop it would take to make me okay the whole time. I'd pass. I'd come up with some reason why, I couldn't make it.
Yeah.
So Mark, what about you, bud? I know that you were on the fence. Mark had a change of employment and stuff, and for a while didn't look like he was going to be able to get here this year due to some regulations for where he works, and then some changes happened, and next thing you know, he was back in the ball game.
Yeah, man. That's all been really, really weird. And what it ended up doing is throwing a monkey wrench into getting a muzzle loader and getting an elk tag. So like last year, I kind of got in late, and then I was just like, well, I'll just backpack and have some fun. And I did. I had a great time. But I thought this year my plan was to actually do some hunting. And then it like didn't work out that way. So this year I'm kind of thinking I'm doing what I did last year, but at the same time, I've also done some other Buddhist retreat work and kind of gone down that path a little bit to where now I'm kind of looking at the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, and one of the Eightfold Path is to do no harm, like don't kill other things. So now I'm like, well, now I really need to sit and take a look at that, and I think I'm going to do it on top of the mountain. So I don't know. I'm still going to take the fishing pole and definitely going to carry some meat down if we get that. But I don't know. I don't know about the hunting thing. But we'll see. I know that's kind of throwing a curveball at you three because I know I haven't mentioned that, but it's just kind of bubbled up of late. So anyway, that's what's up.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit surprised, but on the other hand, it doesn't surprise me. And I don't think it's a curveball one bit, because one thing we've learned here is like to allow everybody their own conception of whatever it is, and this is just another leg of that, I've wrestled with that a little bit over time. And even though I don't kill a lot of stuff anymore, it's not because of that. It's more because of complacency, and I don't want the work involved with what you have to do after you kill something than anything else. It's not for that. But well, cool, man. I respect that. However, a guy decides to do stuff, man. Everybody, you got to stand for something, or you'll fall for anything, or something like that.
I like that.
Have something. Have something have a reason why we do stuff sometimes, and the Buddhist stuff does. And I had never thought about it when you first started talking about it. That was not what I was trying to get ahead of you in your thought and think I knew what you were going to say, and I missed it. Travis, so what have you been doing to get ready? What's going on over in your corner?
What's up, fellas? It just took me back, man. When you said I wouldn't even attempt, when I was using or getting high or drinking or trying to do this trip. And the last time, I've kind of got a little leg up because I've been doing this for about 25 years, man. The first time that I went out to this area where we're going in Colorado, I went when I was about 18 with my dad. And through the years, as my alcoholism and addiction progressed, I remembered when you just said that the last year that I went, which was probably about 7 years ago, with my dad, I had to take a stash up there with me of opiates. And every morning I would get up in the tent and take my drugs so that I wasn't sick for that day up on the mountain and I could make it up there. And that's all I remember about that fucking trip, man. I don't remember anything else but that obsession. You know what I mean? Like I did go on that trip, but then there was a 5-year lag in there where, 7 years ago, that last trip that I took, that I wasn't able to make it because I wasn't even physically capable for those 5 years, because we did it every year. It was a trip that my dad and I went on every year up there. And we went between Colorado and Montana every year, and this place where we're going, we went probably 10 times, up in that area to hunt. And in those last 5 years, he went without me, I didn't even make that trip, so it's kind of cool, this whole reclaiming that which was lost or stolen. And last year, getting to reclaim this thing that I love to do, man. For me, all those years that I went before, and the cool thing is that I've done everything wrong that you can possibly do on the mountain. To be honest, even this last year, just being sober, going last year with Shane and Mark was the first year that I really started getting gear for the mountain. All those other years I took cans of ravioli and shit up there. I took ramen noodles and just ate them without any water or anything, like a chip for food and protein bars. And, you know, my camo was from Walmart. And, you know, I had a backpack that I got on eBay, you know, for $75, you know. Yeah. This year I've really being sober, you know, this is my second year of sobriety, but this year I've really been able to actually focus on things that are important to me, like quality gear and quality hiking boots and packs and stoves and things, you know, ultralight tents and sleeping bags. That's stuff that I never had all of those years because that wasn't important to me during that time when I was going. And I have that stuff now. That's something that I've really focused on upgrading my gear this year. It's a big deal, man, having good shit, you know.
You know, all your money's going in one direction back then, so gear was not much of a priority, first off.
No.
And, you know, I remember, I think it made me think of that when my dad and I and my cousin and my brother went to Canada, and that was in 2003. That's been a long time ago. That was the last big kind of trip that I have taken since my disease progressed to that point that where I had to like carry enough. And it was a problem because we were canoeing back 26 miles back in the wilderness, and you're not going to have any ice. And we was trying to carry, we bought them Kmart or Walmart leather Boda bags, and we all filled them up with liquor, you know, and Dad didn't really want to, but we made him take a couple too anyway. Because we knew we'd want it all.
You had to have your priorities straight.
Yep. And to think of the amount of energy we put, like the amount of energy I put this year into making sure I've got some gear that will that will work for me up there. That's the kind of energy I used to put into making sure I had enough stuff with me, whatever that was.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so another cool thing that I want to say real quick before I forget is look at the ripple effect of you getting sober, Travis. When we first talked about this trip, you weren't even sober yet, really. I mean, you were a few days sober, but we were talking, you were like, man, I used to go out elk hunting in Colorado with my dad. I'd love to get back there one day. I was like, man, that's one of my bucket list things, man. I've always wanted to do that. And you was like, man, we should go. I was like, you stay sober for a year and we'll go. And then that time came around and you were still sober and you're like, you still want to do this? Like, fuck yeah. So look at just the effect that you have of being able to fulfill one of my dreams because you got sober to help me.
Yep, no doubt.
You know what I'm saying? And not just to help the next alcoholic, but to help me fulfill my dreams, bro. You know? Yep. So I thank you for getting sober.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
I love being able to share this, man. Love being able to share this with you guys.
Similar thing here, man. I mean, definitely if y'all weren't doing this, I doubt that I'd have the gumption to up and do it.
Yep.
Another thing with having a place here that I got a little piece of property and that kind of thing to where I can go. I've gotten real complacent in that department too, because I just go to my place all the time. You know, I don't think of going anywhere else. So I ended up buying, you know, everything I got is new for this year. Completely geared up. Now that was the one good thing about having a year ago or almost a year ago, deciding that I was going to go. Let me string out them expenditures over a full year. I can't remember how long ago I got my backpack. I think that was the first big thing. And slowly been putting it together. And there's no way in hell I'm adding up the amount of money I've spent to get ready for this thing. I am not going to do it. I didn't keep the receipts, and I'm not going to go back and try to reformulate it. But I also look at it too the same way. You know, some people. I do have a habit of buying quality stuff, and one of the things that gets to why I do that is because I know I will use stuff for a number of years. You know, so it ain't like just this year's buying something. You know, some guys buy a new bow every year. I buy clothes and wear them for 10. And so, you know, I plan to do, my idea is to do something like this every year until I can't anymore.
Yeah.
I'll keep it a priority in my life. There'll be a lot of good stuff that comes off of that too, because that's going to continue to stay fit all the time, you know, and keep myself in a way financially and physically, spiritually, mentally, all that stuff, so that I'm able to continue to do this. Did y'all spend a lot of money?
So I got a backpack from Travis. He bought me a badass Mystery Ranch backpack because it was part of a trade for fulfilling his daughter's wish of having a 4-wheeler for Christmas. That was just sitting in my shed. It had been since before I even got sober. So it is cool to see it go to somebody and and her to use it. And I actually got to ride that thing today, which was awesome. It brought back a lot of memories. And but that was the one big thing was that. And
I haven't the same weapons as last year, right?
Yeah, man. We went out shooting today, Travis and I, and we took 2 shots apiece, one at 50 yards, one at 100 yards in the kill zone. We're done. We did not see the need to shoot anymore or waste anymore. I'm a pretty true shooter. It doesn't take much to me to pick up a gun and hit what I'm aiming at. So
Travis shot once last year, or shot a little bit already this year. So but these are new bullets and everything in your gun, right? Nothing, you've never slung that out of there. That makes a big difference sometimes.
Yeah, it did. I put what we put in there, 120 grains of powder in it and shot. And I mean, it was a little high and to the left. The first shot at 50 yards. And not much at all. It's still in the kill zone. I'm like, perfect. The second shot 100 yards, about the same, so I was like, man, perfect. I'm good. I always pull to the left. So I know me. So I was like, I don't see the need of wasting any more bullets. I'm good. I'm going to take 5 bullets up on the mountain with me, some powder, some primers, and see what happens.
Yeah. Mark, your decision to go hasn't been that long ago, has it?
No. As a matter of fact, part of the whole gear buying thing was problematic for me. I mean, because last year I did kind of what you did. I as a backpacker, I had a lot of stuff, so I didn't spend a ton of money last year, but I did spend a good bit. I upgraded some gear, and this year with my work situation with the job going away, I didn't feel like it would be fiscally responsible for me to do what I did last year.
Yeah.
So I was not going to go, but I already have all the gear. The only thing I really needed was food, and I upgraded my sleeping bag this year. Was the only thing. So I'm into it for 1/10 of what I spent last year, and I could justify that as So, but man, I'm a gear junkie. I've been I got the Fomo when you guys are posting your gear stuff and everything. Wish I could, but. I'm just going with what worked last year. I know it worked, so even though I sure want the new shit, I'm sticking with what works.
Yeah, that's the thing is you did it once, so I mean, with the gear you had, it could certainly be done again, and there will never be a time when you can't look at some area that you'd like it to be a little better. That just doesn't end. There's any of these games boys play, whether it's boating, skiing, backpacking, hunting, sports, golfing, it don't make any difference. There's always the next best one down the line. So I do have a pretty decent way of shutting that off and knowing that my gear that I have now is good enough, but I buy good stuff to begin with. I know Travis upgraded a few things too. Got some new clothes and a new tent.
Dude, I got so much new shit. I mean, let's just hope that my wife doesn't listen to this. I'm going to go ahead and throw a number out there. I probably spent $3,500 this year on upgrading my shit. Damn. I'm just going to throw that out there. Jesus. I'm just going to go ahead and just throw it. I mean, my pack alone was $700 something. I got new boots. Those are $250.
Yep.
You're talking all my new First Light stuff was close to $1,000 for my camo. My tent was $400. I got an ultralight backpacking 2-man Big Agnes tents, $400 plus.
We probably should stop.
You're
starting to make me feel bad.
Let's just go ahead and let's cut that part out, please.
Because that ends up being part of my fun of these kind of trips, though, and I really do enjoy it. The anticipation, and some of that includes buying stuff, man. I kind of I've struggled with that keeping my impulses down in the past, and I did a real shitty job. And when I came into recovery, one of the biggest wreckages in my past was giant big credit card bills, because I'd get loaded and shop and spend money that I didn't have.
I think
a lot better than that today.
there's something too with that Amazon or that whatever package on my porch, man, that hit of dopamine that I get from that package that shows up at my house.
There is no doubt.
Then I'm looking for that package all the time. You know, I'm like looking, I'm like, oh, here it is. Here's that package. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, there's something going on in my brain there that likes that.
I agree 100%. There's something that lights my spirit up, man, when I see that Amazon guy running up to the door.
Yeah.
I was like trying not to think about anything I might need or might want. And then finally I started thinking, and that's when I got on Amazon, like I need this, and this. You know, I got like a jet boil, the pillows. So I got some of that, what's that stuff? Dead downwind stuff, you know.
Wind indicator stuff.
Yeah, the indicator. Nothing too crazy, some fuel, just little things, but it was like I need that, like another call, you know. It's like I better watch myself, you know, because I don't really need anything else.
You didn't take a stove last year?
No, I think I did, but I think I didn't use it. I think I just borrowed Travis's. I mean, I brought extra fuel up there, and I didn't really eat that much. It didn't feel like, at least, but I just used his when he was doing his.
We talked about that, you know. I mean, it really not everybody needs that. We don't necessarily have to have duplicate gear the whole time, but I'm also the kind of guy that has to drive myself and shit like that. And, you know, same thing that when you go down to Fargo and 4 of us go hunting and we got 5 trucks in the yard.
Yeah.
And,
it's like borrowing a man's chainsaw. It's just like one of those things that you just, you know, something in me just tells me I need my own shit, you know.
Exactly. I didn't want to be borrowing yours all the time, you know. I was like, he carried it up the fucking mountain and now I'm just going to use it, you know. It was kind of that kind of feel.
And I know the guy who I was planning on using his stove. He'll walk off the edge of a cliff or something, and I'll be out of luck.
Right.
Leave me out there. Well, it's 12 days till we leave, boys.
Hell yeah.
12 days. And it's clicking along. Can't wait, man. Clicking along fast.
I feel like I'm going to fucking explode. I really do. Today really got me, really kicked in when we got out there, and I was having the same feelings about, you know, from last year when we went out to shoot before we went. And it's like, it just showed me how close it really fucking is. Now I know 12 days may seem like a lot of days to some people, but it's like now for me, you know what I'm saying?
Blink your eyes, man.
Yeah. And we're there, you know, this time next year, it'll be our first night sleeping up at the top of the mountain, you know?
Yeah. So. It's you know, however the countdown, you know, a while back, and Travis started posting them days, and it was a whole lot of days, and and boom, it ain't none anymore.
It's nothing, man.
It's
so quick.
I feel like too, man, like, you know, like as men, you know, I feel like we have like this primal need to like explore and like go do shit, you know. Like I feel like men have been so, and this is my opinion, dude, but I feel like men have been so domesticated, like golf, and like in the real world, like you have family and career and kids and all these things, and you're just going all the time, and your life is full. And this trip, man, for me, it really changes gears. You know, it's almost like a week-long meditation, you know, when you get out to the Rocky Mountains, man, and you just get up and everything just slows down, and all that noise just starts to melt away from you and melt off your mind. And it's an experience I just can't explain, man. I think everybody should. Like I said, I think we all have this primal need to go out and do this kind of shit, man. And I'm super excited to get to experience this with you guys, man. I'm super jacked up to go. And
it is. It's in our DNA. It's in our stuff to go out and kill shit and bring it home.
Yeah, man.
But a lot of times in today's world, what that means is going and getting a paycheck and dragging it home. You know,
right.
But still inside of us is that need, and there's some kind of thing, you know, I believe it, because I think that's the same thing, that feeling you feel when you're sitting around a fire at night out in the middle of no place, you know, after hunting all day or whatever, or anticipating tomorrow's hunt, or sitting in a duck blind, or any of those kind of things that we do. And I've known they've always, of course, I grew up doing it with my dad. From the time I was a little kid. So, you know, and it was always enjoyable to me as a little kid too. Always. It never was a pain. You know, Dad never had to fight. You know, my brother and I both was invited to go every time, but Neil wouldn't get out of bed, and I did. And so now it's a way of life. And if I don't get certain doses of this in my life today, I get off balance. I need that. Yep. I need that to keep the balance in my life. Has to include some adventure at some level, where if it's going to the Rocky Mountains or if it's going and sitting in a deer stand in southern Indiana all day.
Because I don't even think it's a primal need or urge. I think it's more of our souls, man. Our souls need it too, just as much as anything else. It's just, man, it fills my soul just being there. I can feel my higher power when I'm there, man. I feel them and I hear them in the silence. You know what I'm saying? Because it is very quiet up there, and I hear God talking loud and clear. It's fucking beautiful.
Just for fun, it says relating to an early stage in evolutionary development. Essential, fundamental. Certainly fits all that for me.
Yeah, me too, man. Yep.
No doubt. Well, I'm excited. I don't want to burn up a whole lot here, but I did want to get a little of this pre-trip anticipation, the pre-juice. Yeah, there's also another kind of pre-juice, ain't there?
Yeah.
That shit'll get her pregnant too. Don't think it won't. And get a little of this, and so you guys that are be listening, because this is going to get put together, we're going to do a little recording while we're up there too, and capture some content actually in it, and we'll see how that rolls. And God will provide, higher power will send us some moments to do that with, and then come home and do an after action report and take people with us.
Oh yeah, man. I thank you for documenting ours last year, not being there with us, but documenting it all, because that is stamped in time now, right, for all of us to hear and keep on reliving if we forget it one day. Getting old.
Yep, and let your grandkids hear it and shit like that.
Yeah, so thank you for that.
Yeah, man. Who knew?
Thank you for this.
Come like that, man. That is cool. Any final words?
Are we there yet?
Yeah, are we there yet? I just seen a Jocko thing about that the other day. I ran into him on Facebook and started watching video after video of his, because he's got these little short clips, and one of them was, "Are we here? Are we there yet?" And he says, at a certain time in your life, you realize that there yet is going to be here in a minute, and you start taking care of every moment from that point forward.
Yeah, buddy. Feeling more and more of that, man.
Yeah, the journey, not the destination thing.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that's how I'll close. So this year alone, I plan on. I know what I'm looking at this year. As far as what I'm getting myself into. So I'm gonna take it a little slower this time, and with everything that I do, including going up the mountain, because I was so focused on getting to the top of that fucking mountain to get ready up there that I didn't really enjoy the walk up. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but I didn't experience it as much. It was a lot of just focused on getting up there and mentally focused to get up there. And this year, I'm just going to fucking just go, man,
Yeah, I can get myself focused on the finish line and miss the whole race.
Exactly.
I somewhat do that in some other areas in my life, but once again, I'm better than I used to be.
Exactly.
So yeah, I totally get that. Plus, I have some anxiousness. I've said it to y'all about not having done it before. You popped your cherry last year and got a feeling for it, and the rest of you guys know what you're getting into. I figure if y'all do it, I can do it too, but it still puts some anxiousness about making it. And am I going to be able to keep up and blah, blah, blah. I got a handful of things that keep on jumping in my head, even though none of them mean shit. Am I going to have enough to eat? Am I going to be warm enough? Am I going to be able to hang? And am I going to get altitude sickness?
Yeah, I got one of them cliches for you. Let go and let God, bro.
Yep. Continuous practice, man. But it like Scott Lee's thing says, I ain't responsible for what I think, but I am responsible for how long I think it.
Yep. You're going to do fine, man. I know you are. And
just brush it away.
We're all gonna do it together. So we know we're gonna make it.
Yeah, man. Travis, anything final? I saw Mark was waving me off when I asked him when I said it the first time. Can't see Travis.
Now
I can.
I think about there's 7 billion people on this earth, 7 billion people, and there's not a whole shit ton of wild places left, man, where you can just disappear into the mountains, you know, and it's pretty fucking amazing that we're going to get to do that in another week and a half from now, man. We're going to get to go into one of the really last wild fucking places, you know, in this country, into the Rocky Mountains. And I just can't wait to share it with everybody, man. As many people that we can get, you know, to get out there and to get to experience this, man. It changes you, man. It changes you. It just does. I don't know how to explain it. You know, the mountains, for me, it just, I don't think I could see myself going a year again without being there, man. It's just part of who I am. It's part of my DNA, like you said, man. Yeah. And can't wait to get out there.
Yeah, we can thank Teddy Roosevelt for the guy who started setting apart these wonderful places in our country, because they wouldn't be here if somebody hadn't started carving them off and saying, yeah, we're going to leave that, you know, that area up there, we're going to leave that alone.
Yeah.
And
no doubt.
Cool. Well, thank you, fellas. Anticipation's blowing off the roof. It'll be here in a blink of the eye, though. I know how time goes today, so I didn't even begin to like, are we there yet? Because
I'm not even gonna be able to sleep tonight just because of this podcast. So you know, thanks.
Cool. Well, listeners, you'll get to hear some more of the story here just shortly. Hang on a minute, and it'll take us a little while to put it together, but you'll get to have it one fell swoop. Cool. Peace out. Hey everyone, this is Dan with the Spiritual Underground Podcast, coming to you from the wood shop today. Real special treat today. We got, as maybe you probably heard if you listen to this, been planning a elk and deer hunt to Colorado this year. And last year, Mark and Travis and Shane came in and in the studio and told me, you know, gave me firsthand rundown, and you guys firsthand rundown of the trip. And I don't know if that podcast was over or during or what, but at that moment I knew that I wanted to go next year. So we did a little pre-podcast. Got some recording of that session, and we did a little recording up on the mountain. And those will be intermixed into this podcast. So a little bit of, well, it's kind of funny. This is the way I was taught to do a fourth column of the fourth step. What did I do before, during, and after? And this podcast is going to have some before, some during, and after. But today we're here to do the after action report and talk about it. I think this time, well, we'll give, no, I'm not. I was going to say, I was thinking about doing some commercials, but I'm going to leave them out of this episode. You'll listen to another one if you want to. I started to listen to the pre-podcast last night, but I fell asleep. And I didn't hear the whole thing because I was trying to like refresh my memory. Hopefully that a lot won't be rehashed. We did a lot of anticipation talk in the recording and the podcast on the front end. But just in a nutshell, the to like let go and let God, those kind of things we do, just shined on this trip. One of the things I noticed after the fact is that none of us really come in with any real big preconceived notions or expectations and stuff. It was really the energy among us all was just to like we do life today, like one step at a time, and allow higher power to lay out the red carpet in front of us, and all we had to do is walk it. You know, and I don't get my head mixed up in there to muddle it up and worry about what may happen or what may not happen and all that. And I think it was a perfect example of when three guys get together and have that open mind and no expectations, how there's really nothing there's nothing I could do to wish it would have went differently. You know, there was nothing missing and nothing happened that I wish didn't happen, you know. So that was, it was just a fantastic trip. Let's, I guess we'll just run down let's just go around table once and introduce ourselves, and then we'll just run down how it went, because I said we got the pre thing going on already. we can start, well, whatever. Travis, how's it going this morning, man?
What's up, everybody? Travis. What's up, guys? I thought I just got rid of you all.
Something to be said for spending a week with somebody.
You know what, man? Like, there's something to be said about us doing this together. You know, I'll just say there's times where I don't like you all. You know what? There's times where I'm going, these motherfuckers, like, you know, I'm quit fucking whining or quit, you know, like there's times where I'm like, you know what? But there's something to be said about this suffering that we go through together, man. I mean, this journey. I mean, let me paint a picture for you. Like, we're driving 18 hours, right, out to the Rocky Mountains from Kentucky and throwing on a 50 or 60 pound backpack and climbing up into the wilderness to spend 10 days in the backcountry. And Dan's never done this before, has no idea what he's getting himself into. You know, Shane's been once. And I think there's times where Dan probably didn't like me very much, you know, where he was, you know.
That's actually not true, though. There was never a not like you. Now, there was times that I was pushed to my very limit.
And that's the thing, man, is that it's always been a dream of mine to be able to take guys up here, you know, to the Rocky Mountains, because I'm pretty familiar with the area, and it's always been a dream of mine to be able to go out there and take guys out there, and I'm doing that now, man. Like, It's like one of those things, and it pushes me to my limit too, you know. I mean, maybe I don't show it as much, but I'm getting pushed to my limit, and that's one of the best parts about it for me, is that, you know, you get to get pushed to that limit where you think your mind is like telling you can't do this, or you can't go any farther, or why are you doing this, or can't we just fucking stop? But you can go so much further than what your mind fucking tells you can, man. And we just proved it, you know. I mean, we started at 8,500 feet and hiked to 12,000 feet, you know, over a 7-mile grade straight up the mountain, you know.
7.5 miles, all uphill.
and you know, and it's the most beautiful place on earth, man. I mean, you know, to me, it's there's no other place like it, you know. I mean, you get out there and it's just like you and God and God's creation, and it makes you so, to me, it makes me so much more connected, I feel like, when I'm there, you know, to something that's so much greater than myself, you know. I mean, it just makes you realize how small you are, and that you're just a part of nature, you know. You're just a part of this whole ecosystem that's going on, man. It's a fucking beautiful thing.
It definitely has that make you right-sized effect, you know. It brings you down to size in a few different elements, between just the expansiveness of the country, the size of the hill, and then how everything just clocks along at home with me missing. You know, the world will go on without me.
I think I'm so fucking important, you know, like, how are they going to make it without me, you know? And I want to say thanks to all the wives and the families and the, you know, I mean, any of us could have made up any excuse not to go. I got my job, or my finances, or my kids, or my spouse, or my family, or, you know, but I want to say thanks to the families and the wives that you know, pushed us to do this, and thanks to you guys, man. I mean, thanks. You guys should give yourself a pat on the back too, because, I mean, how many, there's been 20, 30 people that have said, I want to do that, I want to do that, you know, and it happens all the time. Everybody wants to do it, but a lot of people want. But how many people do? You know what I mean? And you guys stepped up, man.
The we aspect is part of it. The, you know, kind of kick around in 12 steps at the first word and the first step. We, how important that is, and it came into play here too. Good morning, Shane. How are you doing today, man?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Shane Gibson, alcoholic addict. So yeah, I am. Today is probably the first day I'm really back. We got back in town Friday, and I had enough time to take about an hour nap before I had to get ready and leave again to get out of town to go to Cumberland for the weekend. We had some renters come in, so today's going to be my first day back in my own home finally. So looking forward to that. Prior to this trip, you know, last year we went to Colorado. The way that whole thing planned out was, you know, my whole life I wanted to go out west and do an elk hunt, and I didn't know if that was ever going to happen. You know what I mean? I'd never knew anybody to do that, anything like that. until I met Travis. Travis came into the rooms several years ago and been watching him for a while, and he finally came in this last time and stuck, and we got to talking, and he's like, man, I miss going out west and going elk hunting. I was like, what? You know, it was like, huh? I was like, elk hunting? I was like, yeah, I'd like to do something like that. He's like, man, we should go. You know, he was real early. And I was like, I'll tell you what, you stay sober for a year and we'll go. And he stuck around, man. He stuck and stayed. And that time came around. He said, remember when we were talking about that elk hunt? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, it's getting close to that time. You want to put in for our tags? I said, yeah, let's do it, you know. And so I talked to my wife, and it was funny on a lot other podcasts, you know, I talked about it, but I'm going to rehash it. I was thinking about all these things I was wanting to say to my wife to justify me going on this trip the first time, you know, and I was planning out what I was going to say to her and everything, and then one day I just finally just said something and asked, and she said, well, when is it? And I told her the date. She said, okay. And I was like, that's it? You know? Yeah. So I was so excited. And then this year, you know, I told her, you know, prior that, you know, we're going to do it again next year. She's like, cool, but, you know, go for it. And so it came around this year, and since I'd already done it once, you know, I kind of knew what to expect and what I wanted to do this year different than I did last year, because last year I was so focused on the end goal, if you will, versus the journey. Yeah. I did a lot of preparation to get ready for it and everything, but once I got there, I just rushed up the mountain to get to the top. You know, I didn't enjoy the moments on the way up. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I'd never done anything like that before, so I was just focused on following Travis's footsteps, you know, and doing exactly what he did versus anything I wanted to do, because I didn't know what I was doing. Yep. And that's how you do things like that, you know. You learn from the person in front of you. So I just followed him down that path the whole time, doing my mantra and everything. And when he stopped, I stopped. I just did exactly what he did, you know. So this year was a little different. I wanted to slow down my pace as far as going up the mountain and getting to that end goal of getting to the top. You know, I wanted to enjoy every moment of it. And we had you going this year, so you had never been. So I wasn't the new guy anymore, you know. So we had a new guy. And just to stay focused for you, even, you know, because there was times I wanted to give up too. And I knew I could do it because I'd already done it before, you know. But I probably felt the same way you felt when you were going up, like, we ever going to get there kind of deal, you know. So once I knew where the end goal was, it makes it a little easier, I'd say. Not really, but you know what I mean.
There is something to travel, a path you've traveled before, no doubt. I don't know if easy is the right word or whatever, but there's certainly an advantage to doing it the second time.
Yeah. It's like I can get there. I've done it before. I know I can, but the guy that's never been there before is like, we ever gonna fucking get there kind of deal, you know. And that's the way I was last year, you know. But just getting up that mountain this time was a lot different. You know, Travis said, you know, he had, I can't remember his exact words, but like, you know, sometimes I want to stop too, you know, and I could feel that, you know what I'm saying? I could feel that, but he pushed forward. And that's what kept me pushing forward, push forward. And that's what keeps you pushing forward, you know? And that's how we get there is we help each other. Like, man, I don't know if I can take one more step. Well, he just took one more step, so I know I can, you know? So that's how I get up there.
Yeah. You know, we left on a Tuesday night, I think around 7 o'clock or sometime around that neighborhood, and
6:45.
The plan was and again, this is from doing what somebody else has done and listening and following some directions. Because when I first heard that Travis said we're going to switch drivers every 2 hours, I thought, well, that's a little excessive, but it's actually perfect, and it really makes that trip. I don't know. There's something about the trip makes it seem. It never felt exhaustive. You know, by the time you're getting a little road weary, it's time to let somebody else drive. Yeah. And we go drive. We actually made our meeting on Tuesday night, and was in the home group meeting in the vehicle, and headed on out there. And I guess part of the joke is driving across Kansas, period. That's just a long dang state, and there's not much to, when we came back in the daytime, I mean, I don't know, it wasn't as bad as I thought, that people said. The first time we went through it, it was night. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't see anything. And it is a value to drive across that state in the night, I think. But the drive was relatively uneventful. On the front end of the trip, Shane had two little bumps in the road kind of thing goes on, and he called me up, and he had a flat tire a week or two prior to the trip, and was intending to have his tire fixed before we left. And so he called up, and of course I was like bracing, like something is up, because he's, this is not just a how you doing call. Yeah. And I said, "You okay with if we don't have a spare tire?" And I'm like, "Well, that's not going to be enough to make me stay. That's not going to be enough to cancel the damn trip. That's for sure. Yeah. And then he called up, and his daughter had received a positive COVID test
an hour before we were leaving.
Yeah. And it did. It stopped me for a second, and it totally went against my nature to even be bothered by it to some extent. Mm-hmm. But it stopped me for a minute. And I was like, no, that ain't enough either. You're going to come bigger with that if you're going to get me to bail. Yeah. And I knew that wasn't your point wasn't to get me to bail, but did play those mental games pretty quick. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of, I don't know, it did throw a little bit of funny energy in there. I tried to just set it aside and do what we do, but it did slip into my mind. Can you imagine us getting sick up there?
Oh yeah.
No way this is someplace you want to go to in this peak of condition as you can. Mm-hmm. Mentally, physically, spiritually, any hiccup could really change the flavor of the trip for everybody because of that we thing. If one guy goes down, there's going to have to be a load shifted
for sure
to do that, and that's going to affect the other people's trip.
That part right there was tripping me out, because I was like, I didn't even want to tell you guys. Like literally, I was like, I'd already set up the appointment to have my tires rotated and balanced on that Tuesday before we left, and just because I wanted everything to be perfect as far as my truck was running, and that Friday before, I saw my sponsee on the side of the road, and I threw it in reverse and pulled into a parking lot, and I ran over the curb and busted my rim and busted my tire. So I immediately called the Costco to tell them, hey, I had this happen. I know this is a specialty tire, and I just want to make sure y'all had one on hand, so when I come in on Tuesday, everything will be good, because I'm leaving for Colorado. They're like, there's one on the shelf. We'll pull it off for you. Everything will be good to go. I'm like, all right, cool. So I get there Tuesday morning and drop it off, and then they call me like an hour later and like, sir, this is a specialty tire. I said, I know this. I say, I called you Friday to let you know that this was a specialty tire, and because I needed this for my trip, and you all said that you had one on the shelf and you pulled it off the shelf for me. He said, well, that was a new guy, and he didn't really know what he was talking about. I said, okay, that's fine. He's like, well, we don't have another one. It's going to be next week before we can get it. And I'm like, well, I'm leaving, so don't rush order it or anything like that, But the cool part was I didn't get mad about it. You know what I mean? I wasn't pissed off. Life on life's terms kind of stuff. I'm like, cool, just do what you got to do. And then, so I go pick up my truck and get back home. And then we go to have my daughter tested, because one of her teammates on her volleyball team, we got tested positive for COVID. So we go up there, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, we'll be good, And I'd already called y'all and told you about the tire, and y'all were cool with it. And I didn't want to call you and tell you about it, because I was like, man, if they say no because I don't got a spare, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing this. So I was like, no, just be truthful. Just tell them what's going on. I know it sounds like an excuse to not go, but that's not what my intent is. So we're sitting there, and I looked at my wife. I was like, man, if his test is positive, I don't know what I'm going to do. And the little nurse walks up, and she's like, she's positive. It's like, you got to be fucking kidding me right now. Like, I literally did not want to call you all and tell you. Yeah. Like, my first instinct, don't call them and tell them, they won't want to go. And I've been so ready to go on this trip. And then I was like, no, that's not the right thing to do. Just call them and tell them. I'm sure they're going to be like, fuck it, let's go. You know, if we're going to quarantine, let's quarantine on the mountain. You know, so that was crazy how all that worked out. But you know,
yeah, sometimes I get concerned of like it'll throw me into that thing of going, well, maybe maybe that's higher power saying don't go.
Exactly, dude.
You know, and you're going, but I'm going, no, that ain't either. You know. And then, you know, when you get into my heart, you know, that's where I go and that kind of stuff. And I had to, like, you know, the thought comes across my mind, and then I had to go within, and like, no, that is not what that is.
Yeah, I had the same feeling. I was like, is this God telling me not to go? You know, and I was like, I sat there and thought about it. Like you said, you're like, no, that's not it. It's just something that happened. So go do your thing.
So the drive was pretty uneventful, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Didn't seem to take too long. We stopped and ate breakfast in Denver, and in a minute, there we were, pretty early, really, at the trailhead. Right, we piddled around the town just a little, got some soft drinks or got some, I don't even remember what all, but when we got to trailhead, I don't even know what it was, noonish.
Yeah,
sounds right.
Yeah,
and we know the plan is we're going to stay the night down there. And get up in the morning and head up the mountain to be better acclimated and have a full day ahead of us so that you get the whole day. And so that was a little difficult in a sense for me.
Hurry up and
to
wait.
Stall.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of some digging I had to do inside to make that happen.
That's only from experience, you know, for me, is because I've been out there. Let's say I've been out there 15 times over the past 25 years.
Yeah.
And I have drove to the trailhead from here and went straight up the mountain. You know, by making those mistakes, you know, I've also gone out and spent 24 hours at that elevation and got my body acclimated to that. And it changed everything. Right, so I knew that we needed to wait before we started that hike. You know, we're going from, what's the elevation here? 1,000 feet above sea level? 600 feet to 8,500 feet. So we're going up 8,000 feet up in the air right off the bat. And staying there 24 hours, once you get to that elevation, just keeps you from getting sicker as you go up, because there is a serious concern with altitude sickness. We're going 12,000 feet. That's pretty effing high, you know.
And it gives you some time to come off of that drive too. You know, I don't know, after a big long car drive kind of thing, I feel a little funky. You know, so you get to like shake that off too.
Yeah.
And we went over. We was planning on hitting the AA meeting that night, and so we knew where that was at, and we scoped out the location ahead of time, and we decided to burn some time by going into Rocky Mountain National Park for a little while, and then we started seeing game in there. And
sidetracked.
Got a little sidetracked. Ended up not being able to get back in time for the meeting, but you know, that's one of them acceptance things. And I was a little bummed at the time, but then we ended up being able to go to a meeting later on in the week. So, you know, I didn't need to go to a meeting every day in Colorado, but I would like to have hit one just so out of town meetings are pretty cool. So we, you know, I just kind of walked through the story. We spent the night. Well, we had one big tent that we weren't going to take up on the mountain. Travis brought. And we pitched it. And all three of us dove in the tent. And it was relatively early. In the whole time, we went to bed relatively early. The mountain will make you go to bed early. We stayed up that very last night. Got up in the morning, and you know, there's a lot to, you know, when you go up there, you need to have what you need, and you want to have your stuff settled out right and shook down and your pack fitting right and all that kind of stuff before you head up there. And, you know, there's some mental preparedness for me of being ready to do it. And I, like you said, I had no idea what I was getting into, you know. We threw on our packs and locked up the truck and took off down this very, very flat, 100-yard strip.
Yeah.
And then it's straight up the mountain and switchbacks, man. And but thankfully, you know, it didn't take me long at all before I was gassed. I mean, just gassed. I could not catch my breath. I felt like I was breathing like this. And I would try to take a big, deep breath. And normally I can do that. And it was like, that's all I had.
Yep.
And I could not feel like my lungs. It didn't feel like my lungs were full. Like I was being. It was like I couldn't expand my lungs to its full capacity. And that kind of scared me at first, you know, because I thought I was going to hyperventilate, you know. And I think you and I both struggled with that for a few days, that lightheadedness at times, you know. And again, you know, that doubting Thomas bullshit sneaks in there about real quick. That first bit of that mountain will make you wonder, can I do this? Go ahead.
I mean, I just always tell people the mountain's going to challenge you. You know, I mean, you're going to go out there and Mother Nature's going to do what Mother Nature does. You know, I mean, that's just one of those lack of power things, you know, and you're going to have to earn it, man. It's just how it is. I mean, it's always that way with that mountain. One way or the other, you're going to have to earn your place to be there. And like I said, it'll push you to the brink of where you think, man, I'm too old, or man, I could, you know, I could be watching Netflix or sitting home watching Dancing with the Stars, and what am I doing out here? I'm not made for this, and all those things that your mind tells you. And that's why I love it so much, man. It really, really is a mental game. A lot more than it. I mean, it is physical. Don't get me wrong. You know, I mean, it's a lot of physical too. But I always say your body can go so much further physically than what your mind tells you that you can.
And I don't think it really matters what kind of shape you're in. It's still that's gonna wear you down.
Oh, yeah.
That's gonna be a challenge to the most fit people, especially with weight.
Yeah.
And the oxygen, you're talking about 20 to 30% at that elevation. You're getting 20 to 30% less oxygen, and that's why your lungs are doing that. You know, they're not used to getting 20 or 30% per breath less. You know, it takes a little while, and that's another reason that whole first 24 hours that you want to get acclimated to what that air is going to do to your body. And I have got altitude sickness before, going out there and going straight up that mountain, and altitude sickness can kill you. I mean, it can kill you. And the best thing you can do is get water and get to lower elevation until you feel better. And that's what I had to do one time out there, you know, and that lesson taught me to not run up the mountain right when I get there, you know, so.
It was some kind of like weird elevator as you climb up that mountain and you see the lake down where the truck is parked get smaller and smaller, and you gain altitude fast. And, you know, it's flat beautiful right from the get-go, man. That hillside, you're looking off of there and seeing the surrounding mountains, and that charges my soul right off when I've got that view around you while you're walking. There's a break point about halfway up that hill, or halfway to the lake, and that's kind of an anticipation point. Travis was saying something about we'll break there, you know, and I was happy for that break, and I loved the pace that we were going on. You know, every time y'all stopped, I was ready for a break. I did find myself feeling like I was rushing, and I had to keep on allowing my pace to be mine, and tell myself, just walk at your pace. You don't have to keep up with them, because and you know, that's all of us, as we just walk down the street, have a natural pace, right? And it's going to be different. And I found myself a lot more, because you have to pick every single foot spot, every footfall. You have to pick it, or else you'll step on a damn round rock, or you'll slip out in the gravel, or you have to very intentionally walk. Not to mention with 50, 60 pounds on your back or whatever, having to keep that in balance, because those sticks saved me a number of times. Just a slight tip over, and that weight wants to take you away, man. And with that stick out there, I can catch myself every single time. I will never do anything like that without those again, or, you know, I haven't done it before. But there's a little controversy, and then people call them sissy sticks sometimes. So then that gets into my ego, my male ego, about using a crutch. No, man. I think you'd be dumb not to use them. Matter of fact, I know it gave me a lot to do that. We stopped up there at that break point, man, and I was pretty, not wore out, but I was certainly feeling it by that point. But it was pretty cool on that little break, man, and then stand back up, and felt like you had fresh legs and stuff. Just a small break of getting that weight off for a few minutes, put another pep in your step, and ready to move on.
Yeah. It's funny. When you were talking about the breathing part, I remember that moment where I started getting in my head about it, and I remembered what I did last year as far as knowing that, okay, it's just a little bit less oxygen, you'll make it, you'll be okay. Because my first mental thought is, I can't breathe, I'm freaking out, you know. And I remember telling you something like that. It's like, It's okay. You'll get your breath. It's just. But I remember right off the bat, I was like, "Oh my God, am I gonna be able to do this too?" You know.
Yeah.
I know I've done it before, but am I gonna be able to do it this time? You know, because I couldn't breathe and I went straight into my head. You know, and then you said the brake part. When we got to that brake part, and I took that pack off, man, I felt like I was gonna float away.
Yeah.
Like literally, I mean, I started walking and I felt like I was floating in the air. You know, and just start levitating because it's just such a relief to get that much weight off of your back and you don't realize it, but that little bit of a break, it really helps your mind and your body. You know, it's like, okay, and when you put it back on, you're like, all right, it's not so bad. Again, we're okay. We can do this. You know. So, yeah. That halfway point's a good little stopping point.
In that particular spot in the trip, you know, and my perception could be off, but I think I'm relatively on. From the truck up that hill is a tough pull, and then it gets to where you're walking on relatively level ground, and you know you're still trending upward, but it's not steep except for just the little ups and downs, straight up and down, little hills and stuff like that. And then the very end of it, before we get to Watonga Lake, there's another pull that you got to go uphill. And when we finally, you know, when we made it to the lake, I was gassed by then, you know, and it had made me happy if that's as far as we were going. But, you know, I was also trusting, you know, I was along for the ride, you know, and I did have confidence that I could get where we were going. I never did have any kind of dread feeling that I wasn't going to be able to get where we were going. There became a time where I wasn't very happy about it. And it wasn't really even an unhappiness. It's just shifting air. And that was the cool thing about this trip. And one of the things I was telling Christopher last night is that if it had been less hard, then I wouldn't have hit that edge and had the opportunity to push through it. You know, if we'd have stopped at the lake, I'd have never hit that point. And I need that point in my life, you know. Yep. If it had been a whole lot harder, you know, if we'd have had a whole lot further to go, I don't know, man. I was probably going to need a break before I could go a whole lot further than we were going. And we put our packs back on after that break at the lake and started heading up. And now it's a pretty nice trail. Matter of fact, it's a really nice trail from the truck to Watonga Lake. When we started from there, there was no more trail. And so you're really having to pick your footing and you're having to pick your path. The trail did have a number of logs that were laying across it that you had to cross, and that was always a little, you know, you could definitely tell after you had to do some of those, cross over one of those things, that's a little harder work. Yeah. Some crews had sawed a lot of them out of the way, but not all of them.
With a handsaw.
Yeah, like our understanding was with a handsaw, and miles up in there too. What a pain in the butt. Volunteers, from what the one guy said. Yep. Not even paid. We started heading up there to the top, and then, you know, by now, I really don't know where I was going. Travis had gave me a couple waypoints, but you look at like the Google Earth kind of thing, like on Onyx and that, and you really can't get a feel for what you're really getting into. Yeah. I tried, but it exceeded my expectations in most every way. So we're heading up that hill, and I don't know, somebody else want to take it? I will.
I mean, from the lake, you know, look, I've been out here, you know, to this area. We went up in this area with a purpose, right? And the purpose was to hunt elk and mule deer. And I have been to this area with my dad since I was, you know, in my 20s. I'm 44 now. So I kind of knew the area. The deer and the elk hang between a certain elevation, you know, and without pinpointing exactly where we're elk hunting and killing these animals and everything. But I know that the lake is, say, 10,000 feet, and the mountain goes up to 13,000. And I know between like 12 and 13 is where the elk are usually hanging out, and between 11 and 12 is where the deer are usually hanging out. And I got a kind of camping spot up there. You know, it's about, I'd say, a mile or so past the lake. But it's pretty steep to get to. You know, you're going from 10 to 11, 5 or something like that.
Elevation gains happening pretty quick. Not like the switchbacks and stuff.
And there's no trail. So there's no trail. So at this point, you know, I know that, especially if it's my first time, that my mind's playing some, you know, tricks on my head. Like, why did I bring this? And what the hell was I thinking packing these things that I'm not going to. But you got to think about it. We're going to be there for 10 days, right? Expected 10 days in the backcountry. We're not going to see another soul. We're not going to see another person. It's going to be us and God and nature. So you got to say, okay, I got to put everything in my pack that I'm going to need to survive for 10 days, potentially. You know, we don't know that there's going to be animals there.
Right.
You know, this is wilderness. This is completely wild. I mean, there's, 7 billion people on the earth? How many places can you go that are still fucking wild? Like, there's nothing human-made there, you know, for miles and miles and miles.
Like I said, thankfully, this country has actually set aside stuff in protected places so that we still have pretty wide expanses of property like that.
It's amazing. It's an amazing. No motorized vehicles are allowed in this backcountry area for 15 miles in every direction, 20 miles. There's no four-wheelers. There's no vehicles. There's no roads.
There's no chainsaws.
No chainsaws even allowed to cut trees, you know, and that last little mile to go from the lake up, I call that a quarter of the journey because you're having to go left and right and over trees and deadfall and it's not easy, you know, and that really is the point where your mind's really going, okay, motherfucker, when are we gonna get there? Where are we going? Where's this motherfucker taking us? You know, and you know, that camping spot, like I said, it's about 11,500 feet somewhere in there, and we finally got there from the lake. I guess it probably took us a couple more hours, maybe. Yeah. An hour and a half to 2 hours.
My clock, my timer said that we hiked for 9.5 hours that day from the time that we left the truck to the time I got up there and finally clicked my button. And I really don't know when I did that, but it was relatively soon after we got up there. The trip in is how this podcast got named. We were, I would say, 3/4 up from the lake to the top of the hill. And what I heard Travis say, and I don't know if it really was how he said it or what he said, but what I heard him say was, "Hey, Dan, check out this game trail." And game trail was the last thing on my list of concerns at the moment. And the only thing I can mutter was, "Fuck that game trail." And those guys both turned around, looked at me, and laughed, and it became a thing for the rest of the trip. It tends to be, somebody will come off with something that'll end up being like the theme for the week. And you know, I did recognize when I looked down that was a very nice game trail.
I was excited, man.
Yeah,
you know, like I'm like, okay, the animals are up here. Look at all these tracks and everything. Dan's like, fuck that game trail. Let's just get where the fuck we're going.
I just wanted to sit down, man.
And we're what, maybe 15, 20 minutes from where the camping spot was at that point. You know, that was the end. We were right at the end, you know. And
he did not know that.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. That's what, when the real meaning of you don't have to tell me the truth, but please don't lie to me was, you don't have to tell me how far it is, but don't lie to me and tell me it ain't far.
It's right there.
I got to have some mental grasp to go, okay. And I wasn't at that time. My hips was beginning to ache. I had a knee that was aching. And it really was getting to be where I was wondering if I could go a lot further just from a pain threshold thing, and it wasn't terrible yet, but it was getting worse. It was beginning to hurt more, and those uneven steps on the rocks and that kind of stuff with all that weight was a problem. And man, when I got up there and you guys said, "This is it," and I think I was like, "Really? Don't lie to me.
Don't fuck with me."
The only thing I could do is get that pack off me and lay down, and I really don't know, but I felt like I laid there 20 or 30 minutes. I don't really know. When we finally got rolled up and putting up our camp, I was so exhausted that there was times that I was down on my knees, like driving a tent stake into the ground, and like kind of forgot what I was doing. Next thing you know, all I'm doing is sitting there on my knees staring at a blade of grass. And I'm like, oh man, I have something I'm trying to do here. I have a purpose. Yeah. And it really did. It wiped me out. And that's what I meant. At some point in that sometime around 1/2 to 3/4 from the lake to the top of the hill, I hit what I thought my edge was, and it became that deal where it was a mind game of persistence, of put one foot in front of the other and just keep going.
Yeah, I remember that point, and Travis was going around the side to go up there, and I was like, I think we can cut across right here. And me and you went that way, and he went around kind of up above us just a little bit, and we cut across. And I was like, we're almost there. And that's when he was like, don't lie to me. And I was like, no, seriously, it's like right there, man. We're almost there. And we get across there and get up. And we were getting ready to crest that last little elevation right there to get onto the campsite. And I was like, man, he don't even know how close we are now, you know. And I stood there on that log, and I could just feel your energy. I was like, he's thinking to himself, when are we going to get there, you know? And I was like, he just doesn't know how close he really is now. And then we get up there, and you're like, this is it? And you're like, yeah, and you just crashed out, man. And I went over to where Travis and I had taken some crystals up with us and left them on top of the mountain. And at that moment, I knew that crystal was for you. I had no purpose for that crystal other than to leave it up there for somebody else to find, or
actually intended to bring it out here.
Yeah, to find the person it was meant for, you know. And they were still sitting there, and I picked it up, and I remember you laying on the ground. I went over to you and said, "Here, Dan, this is for you," and you were like, fuck that. No, you weren't like that, but you know.
What I can think of is that I don't need another pound in this pack.
Oh, that was hilarious. Because I was like, man, that was afterwards. I was like, man, that was the absolute worst time to give that to him. You know what I mean? But
it's at some level, man. I look at that as that push through and almost like the gift of, okay, man, that you made it.
Yeah, here you go.
For those
people, it is a beautiful spot.
For those listeners that don't know how thorough that Dan Reeves is, I mean, he brings 2 of every fucking thing up on the mountain. Like, he has to have 2 of every, just redundancy of, just in case this doesn't. He brought extra fucking shoestrings for his boots, man. I mean, this guy's pack was at least 10 or 15 pounds heavier than everybody else's, you know.
And most of my excess really was in the snacks that I brought. I brought way too many snacks, man.
Vacuum packed gummy bears
I had a couple too many things of food, but had we not come down off the mountain and spent 2 nights down, I would have ate the food that I had. Mm-hmm. The only real food I had left over was from us going and spending the night down in town those 2 times. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we only went and spent 1 night in town.
2.
2? Mm-hmm. 2, yeah, that's right. But the last one was when we was done. Wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
1 night during the week.
Anyway, that what Travis said earlier about being prepared to spend 10 days up there, I was making sure that I was going to be okay, but I had way too many snacks. I probably had 8 pounds of snacks I didn't need to take with me. But I do. I'm a redundancy dude, man. And I'm a prepared kind of dude, and I joke around. I don't know if that comes to be prepared from Boy Scouts or what it is, man, but I like to be prepared.
Yeah, I was looking forward to seeing how you handled this trip as far as, because I know you're a busy guy. You're always doing something. You're always. I mean,
yeah.
And I
busyness.
was like, when he gets up there, what is he going to have to do? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because there's nothing you have to do.
Right. Yeah. Didn't have a tag to fill. I didn't really have any kind of sense of urgency for anything.
Mm-hmm. So I was kind of anxious to see how you handled that. You know what I mean? You handled it well. But at first I was like, man, he'll probably go get a bunch of firewood and all this stuff. And even though we weren't going to make a fire, I was like, he'll probably have all this stuff prepared. But no, you did great, man. Like I said, when I handed you that crystal, I know it was the wrong time, but you sat there and got your breath and everything. And I was getting all my stuff ready, and I remembered when we were going up the mountain. I can't remember exactly what I said to Travis, but I remember seeing his face and seeing the reaction of. We were talking about the walk up there and how hard it was, and I said something to the effect of, through suffering comes great joy, or something like that. And I just saw him like ding, like a ding moment, and it was just cool to see that, and it is, because it's not that we were suffering in our own way as far as getting up that mountain to get to what we were wanting to do. It's a lot of work, and
yeah, nothing great comes easy.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I saw when you were laying there, is that great joy that you finally made it there, And that was pretty cool to see that too.
And it is a beautiful spot, man. I mean, there's places in it where you can go out just right off the edge there, man, and be on a giant freaking boulder and see forever. Mm-hmm. And I did spend some time just sitting on those rocks, I didn't have anything to kill. I just had a pair of binoculars to look around and just sit and soak that up.
Yeah.
I envisioned having a whole lot of that kind of time, and from the front end, like, what was I going to do to stay busy while y'all were out hunting? Because that could be that way. Y'all could have spent like every waking moment hunting. And I intended to go with you some, but y'all were so effective that when I didn't pick the first time you went, I was out of luck to be along. But I can totally understand why, and that spot is every bit worth that pull to get to it, regardless of the animals being at that elevation or anything. Just the whole atmosphere and the you're almost to the top, but you have a backdrop of them. Still one more ridge behind you, at least, or maybe more than that. Yep. That's the way the mountains are. You know, you go thinking that looks like the top, and you look over, and that may not be, but it gave the feeling of being right below the edge. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and that view off of that front side of that campsite was just unbelievable.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into where those animals are going to be at, man. I mean, precipitation, how green the grass is that they're feeding on, how much snow has accumulated up. I mean, there's so many things that go into it, you know, that you're not guaranteed to even see an animal, right. You know, and something I always wanted to see, always. You know, like we got there a day or so before the season started so that we could kind of scout around and go out and watch with our binoculars.
We walked up on a Thursday. We had all day Friday to do whatever.
Just to scout.
Or hang out and recover. Yeah. I mean, I spent Friday mostly in a recovery mode.
I did too.
Yeah.
And then Saturday morning was opening day. So we had that day off.
Yeah, that Friday. The one of the highlights of the trip for me was that Friday morning before the season opened. You know, we're kind of out on one of those big boulders and checking with our binoculars, looking at these ridges, and we see two elk fighting up on the mountaintop. There's two elk going at it, fighting up there, and then we kind of look over and we see something else on the other ridge, and I'm like, what is it? Something I've never seen up there that I always wanted to see, man, and it was two bighorn rams with the full curls of the antlers all the way around their head, standing up there. I mean, they looked as big as dump trucks, you know, standing up there. I mean, they were so huge. You know, just two of them standing up there, and we saw them every day. They were just hanging out where we were at every day, and I've never seen them, man. Never seen them up there. That's what I always wanted to see. That would have made my whole trip just to see those two bighorn rams and not even see anything else. I'd have been completely content with that hike just for that, you know.
That was definitely a gift.
It was amazing to see those animals up there, and they're protected. You know, they're not hunted. You can't hunt them there in that unit. You can in other units in Colorado, but that unit is actually protected, and they're protected there, and they're just such a beautiful animal, man.
Yeah. If I recall, it's something like 50 tags they have every year.
Statewide. Yeah.
And there's a breakdown on this page, you know, like in this unit, they give you 8.
Yeah.
And in this unit, it's 10. And just for your information, the tag is $2,300.
Yeah. So say 20,000 people put in for the tag, and they give 10 of them, you know, a year. I mean, that's, you know, once in a lifetime, I think.
Yeah, you talk about 50 tags and what a typical hunting success ratio is. There's not many of them killed every year.
Right.
But they are beautiful. It was just, you know, words. And it was far enough away. Now, Shane actually took his camera and poked it through his binocular and got a fairly decent picture for that technique of one of those rams. Is pretty cool. It would have been cool to have a spot and scope and one of them phone scope thing to attach to it where you could zoom in 60 power on them and get a photograph. But I was real glad I didn't have that extra 4-pound spot and scope on my pack.
I'm surprised you didn't have 2 of them.
Yeah, last year he kept talking about rams, you know, and then the first day we're up there, we're seeing them this year, which was really cool. Everything about this trip was just like we couldn't have planned it any better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Last year we had a lot of challenges.
Get there when it's snowing.
Yeah, get there and it rained on us the first night as we're at the base of the mountain all night long. And then we get up and start hiking up. We get up about 700 feet and it's all snow from the rest of the way up, you know, and we can't even see the trail, you know.
Yeah.
And this is my first time up there and I didn't have the sissy sticks, you know what I mean? So I was very grateful for those things this year because I could probably say close to 7 to 10 times last year I fell. You know, and it's just that awkwardness of, you know, the shift of the packs.
Once that pack starts going in a certain direction, man, it takes a lot to stop it.
Yeah, and the gravel, the loose stuff, you know, and you're being super careful, but, I mean, you can only be so careful, you know, but having no sticks really helped us this year. And I only fell 2 or 3 times this year. But the one time I broke my stick, and that was just sitting on a log.
Yeah, that wasn't really a fall. It was more like a slipped off my seat kind of fall.
Yeah. I was trying to readjust my feet. My feet went out from underneath me, and I just had to go with it. I had no, my legs were done at that point, but I had no way to kind of get up from that. I was like, I just had to go with it.
I had to make a point to stretch and really keep some flexibility. I mean, man, that meant a lot to me, is getting those real deep stretches and stuff. And I'm glad I have that in my toolbox, because otherwise I'd have struggled more. So we went to bed that Friday night, and y'all got up on Saturday morning, and I heard y'all rattling around and everything, but I knew I wasn't getting up this morning. I was still in recovery mode, man, and I
was struggling too that day. The day before that, the Thursday, I was struggling all that day.
Friday.
Friday. I was struggling all day, and then we got up Friday night. We scouted around. We saw 2 elk, on top.
That'll raise your spirits.
Yeah, on the peak. I was like, ooh. I was like, I'm gonna go after that one. It had some really cool fronts. I was like, I want that one, And we're like, well, we'll go up there where we shot RJ last year, and we'll sit up there for in the morning. That was our game plan.
I told Shane, go ahead and punch your tag. I said, just go ahead and punch your tag now, dude. Just go ahead and punch your tag, because we're going to kill that elk tomorrow morning. Opening morning, I said I had a dream about it. And my dream, this really happened before we came out here. I had a dream that opening morning, Shane killed a big bull elk. And I said, it's on the 11th of September.
Yeah, it was 9/11.
It was 9/11 in my dream. In my dream on the 11th, I said, you killed a bull. I said, go ahead and punch. This was the day before season started. I said, go ahead and punch your tag, dude. It's going to happen tomorrow. Just joking around, Yeah.
I had premonitions in this before this trip that everything was going to go well. I never know, you never know how much faith to put into that stuff. And man, I had a real good feeling about everything working out real well. I wonder about, how that plays into manifesting. And I think that was the same energy y'all were carrying too, and how that comes into manifesting what happens while you're there. I don't discount that one bit. So y'all got up, headed up there to that spot, and like that little valley, that's everything about that place, is that, there's these little tucked away holes, and this is not like small holes. These are not like 1 acre little spots, man. These are acres of these little valley that you can peek up over or draw or whatever, bowl. I don't know what all the terms I heard people use about those spots. But when I followed y'all up to that spot, I had no idea that was there. Now we don't have any reason to know, but they're surprising to me. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
about how come up over there, man, there's this whole nother piece of landscape here that you didn't know was there until you actually got there.
Yeah.
Because you can't see them. They're tucked down behind some ridge or some
I don't want to climb up there to see what's over there.
Yeah, that's, because of, climb up there and there's nothing, right? Or there's just more up. So y'all got up and y'all purposely headed towards where you saw the ones the night before.
Yep.
Go ahead. I wasn't there.
Well, in the same spot last year, I had killed an elk in the same exact spot that we were at that morning. When the sun was coming up on the last day of the hunt last year, and I kind of saw those bulls the night before up on the ridge, kind of doing what that bull last year was doing. He was kind of peeking over the edge, seeing if there was any other animals in that valley we were in. And I told Shane, I said, if we can get one of those bulls to think we're a cow, we do a little cow calling down here, and they may come down and check it out, And so as soon as that sun came up, I started cow calling a little bit, because elk hunting's like turkey hunting, for anybody that doesn't know. It's like turkey hunting on steroids, man. This is like a prehistoric animal with ivory teeth and knives coming out of his fucking head. They fight and screw for that's all they're doing. They're trying to kill each other to the death. And they got huge knives coming out of their heads and they fight. They're just a cool fucking animal, right? And I hit this cow call when the sun comes up a couple times, and all of a sudden there's a valley over to our left. There's a bull bugling back at us coming from over there, and then over to our right there's another bull over here coming, and there's another bull. There's bulls coming from every direction. They're coming to us, all of them, and one of them got downwind of us and smelled us, and he shut up and disappeared because the wind's such a big fucking deal up there. If any animal gets downwind of you, they're going to be gone. They know what human smell is, and they know that's danger, and they're gone. And the other ones, they kind of hung up on the ridge above us, you know, and they wouldn't really come in, but we just kept enticing him with some sweet little cow calls, and his interest finally got piqued so much that he couldn't take it anymore, and he came down there to see what the hell we were.
And they really are like standing on the other side of the ridge, playing peekaboo to some extent. Like,
they're peeking over the top of the mountain, looking down where they're hearing them sounds from, you know, and when they're looking, you just got to be still and not move and not say it. And every time they turn their head to go back the other way, you just kind of give a little cow call, and he's like, wait, what was that? You know, and he kept looking back. Finally, he just couldn't take it anymore, and he just came down the mountain, you know, right to us. One
came and one didn't.
One came and one didn't, screaming in our face, bugling, screaming, you know, and he kept coming. Every time he stopped and looked away, I'd give a little cow call. Shane could see him sometimes, and I couldn't see him. Shane would be like, cow call, cow call. So I'd cow call a little bit, and he'd look again, and he'd keep coming, and finally he walked right in, 50 yards, I think, and Shane put it right on him, man, and that was it. An hour into the hunt, an hour into the season, man, and the elk was already laying. I mean, he went down right there 30 yards from where Shane hit him at, you know.
Yeah, from my end of the story, I woke up and I knew you were gone, and it's kind of like a funny thing. It's like I'm sleeping and it's still dark. You know, my eyes will come open, I'll see it's still dark, and I'm like, okay, more. But when I open my eyes and there's daylight, it generally will make me get up. You know, it's like no matter what, it seems like it's almost like somebody turned the lights on, so to speak. And I crawled out, started making coffee. I really hadn't done anything, man. Got up, peed, started my stove, and I could hear cows. I could hear bugles and cow calls from where I was at. I really discounted. I thought it was people. I thought it was y'all, or I thought it was hunters. Completely 100%. Until I heard boom, and then just a second later, there was a second shot. Boom. And that's usually in my world bad news when you hear two. If you hear, it's kind of like the Indiana deer woods. The little traditional thing in gun season is boom, 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 boom.
Running away.
And I knew you had muzzle loaders, and you're not going to get those repetitive shots. And that's what that sounded like to me, was the one failed, one miss, and the next Hail Mary after
out there.
But there's that pull to me to want to go, but I had no idea where you were at. I was like, man, no, you sit still, because and probably to find you would have probably been impossible with that yelling or something. But a minute later, here y'all come down the hill. I don't know why it's burned in my brain, but I only saw one of you coming, because one of you had orange on and one didn't. Mm-hmm. And the one that didn't have orange on, I couldn't see. And it did question just a second in my head. I was like, why is it just one?
And
one was shot the other one off.
That didn't really cross my, I didn't come to any kind of conclusion, but the question of why is only one of you coming back did hit my mind. And then y'all had to lie to me again and tell me, no, you missed at first. And you corrected the story and told me you had one. And man, that is just so cool. And that's what I mean about this. Is within an hour of the first day, the bull is on the ground, and Shane had a elk tag and Travis had a deer tag. So if you 3/4 of the job was done in weight.
Yeah. So y'all told your part of the story. I'm gonna say, but it's kind of a recap, but it's totally different. Man. You know what I'm saying? Because when we got to that spot and got set up, he went back, 50 yards or so and started hitting the calls, and we could hear him coming. He saw the one come running off the mountain, and I couldn't see nothing. And I was like, and it sounded so far away. I was like,
so hearing them, you're hearing their vocalizations, or you actually hearing them moving?
Oh no, I could just hear their vocalizations. Except one time I did hear some rocks. You know what I'm saying? I was like, well, that one's got to be closer than what I think it is. So I got excited, and my adrenaline started rushing. But we're sitting there, and I'm hearing all these different bugles, but they really do seem really far away. And I was like, oh, I'm probably not going to see nothing today, but this is awesome, I'm having fun. And then they got to a point where they kind of just shut up, and I was like, well, shit, did they get downwind of us? What is it? And I was kind of bummed out. And because I had that same premonition of getting one opening morning, so Travis came over and sat down. He's jacked. He is so excited. He's like, dude, I saw him running down the mountain. This is an awesome opening morning, you know. And I'm like, yeah, you know.
I was jacked.
Yeah, he was pumped up. So he sits down next to me. He's like, man, he must have caught our wind, or well, you know, we'll go. What'd you call it? The midday madness or something like that. We'll go over this peak and we'll go get you one this afternoon and blah blah blah. But we're gonna sit here and listen. The wind must have shifted or something, you know. And then he's like, but keep your eyes on the peak and just make sure nothing peeks over. And no more than he said that pretty much. I was like, don't move. Because I just saw this elk come to the peak and is like looking over right down. And Travis is sitting directly to my left where there's like a little bit of a tree right there where he can't see it. And I was like, oh shit, there he is. And he's looking, he's like, don't move. I was like, I'm not. So I'm excited now, you know, and I'm like, okay, what do we do here? And so he turned his head. I said, call. And he would call and he, you know, looked right back at us, you know, looked direct, like he was looking into my soul. Like he knew exactly where I was and he was going to come. And I was like, oh shit, this is getting real now. So I'm sitting there and he turned his head again. I said, hit it again. And he hit it again. And finally, after like the third time of him doing that, he came in and started coming down that mountain. I was like, oh shit, it's about to happen. So as soon as he came down the mountain, it started coming down the mountain. He got behind some stuff. Travis got up and was going to move behind me. He's like, I got to get behind you because he's gonna be coming to that sound, and I don't want him to be right on top of us, you know. And I was so freaked out. I was like, I had to put a lot of trust in him because I did not want this dude to move. Yeah. Because I was like, he's going to see it, and that thing's I'm going to watch him go back over that mountain, and I don't want to see that, you know. So he got up and moved back and got set up, and I was watching that hillside the whole time, and I never saw that elk during that time. And then finally, that elk bugled again. I was like, okay, all right, we're good. So he hit the call, and then that elk came around. He's about 3/4 of the way down the mountain. He came around this one peak, and I'll never forget this picture, man. It was so majestic. And he was just standing on the edge of this rock with this big, I remember his chest was so brown to me. Like, that's all I could really see. I didn't even look at the antler. I knew I was going to take him. He's a big one. But I was just looking at his chest, and he just let out this bugle. And I was like, oh, he's coming, you know. And so he hit the call again, and he started down the mountain some more. And he got down to the bottom. And when he got down to the bottom, he was about 150 yards from me when he first started. And I was sitting there thinking,
which you could do.
Yeah, I could if I wanted to. But I was like,
now he's in range.
This dude is going to come in. I had that feeling the whole time. And so he hit the call and he bugled and he came around. And he got to about 100 yards. And he's like kind of quartered towards me a little bit. And I was like, man, I could take a shot right now. I was like, just wait. He's going to come closer, you know. And I was like, okay. So he hit the call again, and here he comes. And then he kind of got like a little bit of a dip right before he came out in the open, and I was like, did he turn? Did he catch a wind? Did blah, blah, blah. All his thoughts going through your head all at once. And then all of a sudden I could see those ivory tips start coming. I was like, oh, there he is. You know, and then he came out and he was walking and he let out another bugle like 50 yards
right
away
in front
from
of
us.
us. Screaming right in our face, man.
Like, oh,
it was like fucking Jurassic Park, dude.
Like
I mean,
T-Rex, man.
Right in our face, dude.
Nothing like an elk bugle. There's no
made the hair on the back of my neck stand straight up.
Yeah, and that's when I started breathing, dude. Because I mean, my heart was beating so fast. I was like, I need to calm down. So I started focusing on my breathing. It's like he's gonna be here any second. I can see it coming up, and I didn't even wait for him to stop or anything. He was walking at a slow pace and very cautious.
He was so close.
And he was so close, and I was like. He had got to this point, and I was already set up and ready to go, and I just let the bullet fly. And as soon as it flew, I just saw him hunch up, and I could see it immediately. And I was like, oh.
Were you on a rest or were you off?
Yeah, I was sitting on a rock. Yeah, I had it sitting on a rock, perfect. And I had it perfect. And I had all my breathing technique down and everything. And I just pulled the trigger, and it just boom. And that was it. And he ran maybe 30 yards. It's like, what? You can see it pumping out.
We were jumping up and down. Yeah. I mean, stuff was going everywhere. Calls were flying everywhere.
Calling after he shot like they do on the video.
He went down so fast. I didn't need to call him.
Though.
I did, but I didn't need to.
I noticed that in the videos I'm watching. That as soon as they shoot one, they start calling again.
Yeah, a lot of times they don't know they're hit. And they'll stop to look, and it stops them. Especially if it's not a great shot, they'll stop and bleed out close enough where they can still see them. That's why they call them after they shoot. But
and one of the things also I was pointing out, and you was talking about them seeing you, is that they, from my understanding, they have a fantastic ability to pinpoint where a noise is coming from.
Yes,
and that's another reason for the caller to get back to draw the attention, not just from a space standpoint, but also to draw the attention. If they're looking up behind the shooter someplace, not at the shooter.
Yep.
I mean, it was textbook, man. I mean, there was nothing that.
Absolutely perfect.
I mean, it was a perfect hunt, dude. I mean,
you feel like a pro.
Yeah. I mean, called him right in, 50 yards broadside. Shane was set up with a good rest.
To happen.
Everything happened exactly the way that God intended it to happen, dude. I mean, it just. I mean, I couldn't have asked for anything to go any way different.
Anything. You had your video camera rolling.
Yeah. Well, except if Dan would have got up and would have been with this video.
Yeah, I guess, this one, no doubt. If I'd have been there, I could have been videoing.
He ended up getting so excited he pulled the trigger too, just to
That's what the second shot was.
Salute.
It was 9/11. I had to salute 9/11, so I was so excited, and we were jumping up and down. And
now, y'all didn't even approach the animal before you came back?
No. We decided to go get you first.
Yeah. I was like, I wanted to run down there and just touch him, and I was like, no, let's go get Dan,
Yeah, it's really not that far away.
No.
All in all, in that expansive land, y'all were just right up over the bump.
Yeah.
So you come back and we headed back. I don't know if y'all got a cup of coffee or did something and had a drink and turned around and went back. But we, in short order, we got our stuff, made sure we had what we needed to go take care of the animal.
Yeah.
And headed back, and then that is where the work begins, so to speak.
An hour into the hunt.
Yeah.
You thought you were going to get to rest a couple days.
Now it's all work now, yeah. The fun part's over. Now it's all work. But
and I did videotape the Shane walking up to his animal, and so there's a YouTube video out there that has that captured. I got about a 10-minute video of some of the footage I took along while we were up there. I'm going to cut in for just a minute and play a little clip that we captured right at Shane's kill site. Wanted to pick up a little of that energy, and then we will return back to the podcast after this. So we're up here with Shane's bull. Got our picture taking session done. First thing this morning, I didn't even get up. Those guys, I heard them wrestling around. They didn't make much noise, and off they went. And then I woke up to hearing bugles and cow calls, and crawled my butt out of bed, was making coffee, and heard boom. And then I heard a second boom, and I thought, that ain't good. Second shots in my world are never good. But this time it didn't matter. It was a victory shot. Keep him from going anywhere. It looks like you missed. Don't you think?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And so, how's the excitement, Shane?
Man, it's beyond words. Watching him come down off that mountaintop, it was just beautiful to watch, man. They're just majestic creatures, man. They're so beautiful. And,
they are.
Just coming down off that thing and watching them stop and bugle and get all the way down to within 50 yards of us, man. I'd let him come in as close as he could, and I was like, I'm going to let it fly. Yeah. I'm super excited, man.
No doubt, man. It's a hunt of a lifetime.
Yeah, man. This has been a dream of mine for years. I never thought it would ever come true, and today it's came true.
Yep. Come up here and gave it a shot last year, and
Travis
took till the opening day of this year to get her done. Yep. Yeah, good shot and everything. Just took a few steps and fell. My understanding.
Yeah. Probably about 50 yards
at
the most.
Okay.
I mean, he was right over there when
was
I saw it. Yeah.
He caught this far trying to make a little bit of escape, but out of gas.
Yeah, he was out of gas. He was done.
Yep. Lungs.
Double lung, it looks like.
Travis, what was it from your end?
I was running around back here calling,
I mean, I got to see the whole thing happen, though. You know, I mean, it took a little while this morning. There was probably 3 or 4 bulls around us, you know, that were answering my calls, and they would come like to the ridge top above us, and they'd just stop and look, and they wouldn't see anything. You know, they wouldn't see any cows down here, so they just turn around and go back. But this one, man, he was a little too curious, and I don't know, man. I'm just excited.
Like you said, it's every bit of the excitement of getting it yourself as the call one in.
Yeah, man. I'm calling him in to Shane's lap at 50 yards and getting him a shot. I mean, that's as fun to me as killing one. You know, I mean, it gives me more joy to be able to share this experience with him and with you, and that's what it's about for me, man. You know, it's not about killing something for me. It's about just the experience.
That hike up here nearly killed me. But I knew there would be gold at the end of those kind of rainbows, man. And that's what coming up and doing all that work to get here. And, of course, another level of work happens right now.
Well, I'm kind of mad, dude. I mean, it's opening morning. I mean, you only have so many opening mornings in your fucking life, right? And Shane has to ruin the whole opening morning by shooting the first bull that comes right to him. You know? Now the work fucking starts.
Yeah. I'm excited for that part of it, too. Every bit of it, man. Every bit of it. All the way to the skillet tonight. And we're going to eat some of him tonight.
Cool. Well, we will fold it up. I was thinking about setting that up and putting it on time lapse. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And
video it. Yeah. The process. That's cool.
Cool.
These we'll just see. But I'm going to start it. So we'll sign off and get started here in a second to getting the goddamn thing done. Probably I'll say a prayer.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right, fellas. Well, we're out. All right, we'll get back to the after action report here in just a second. I do feel the need to apologize a little bit because there will be some reiteration of certain things throughout this podcast as it was recorded at three different time intervals. But one thing you can do is you can tell that people are telling the truth when they tell the same story over and over. So, back to the after action report.
You spend a whole year getting ready for that moment, you know, and an hour into the hunt, you feel a little gypped. Like, I felt like I was a little bit fucking gypped. Like, sure. I spent a whole year getting ready for this. You're practicing the calls and watching thousands of hours of elk hunting videos and training. And
once you shoot one, it's done.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And you don't get to play with them anymore.
Right.
And it's not that you can't, but there's definitely a different energy if you're just up there footling around or when you're actually hunting.
Yes.
Just to go out and call turkeys for fun without any intention of shooting one is kind of weird.
You don't want them to get used to the sound of the calls either.
Yeah, educate them.
Yeah, educate them, and they come in, they're like, "Oh, what's that guy doing?" You know, we're sitting there, "Ha, look, there's an elk." Yeah, I'm gonna remember that. That's what he's thinking.
Yeah, he timestamps that in his brain, and next time he hears a call, he's going, I've been there before.
Yeah. But at the same time, I mean, you know, if the hunt's going to go like that, and
I'll take it.
You're not going to pass.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, you can't pass up the opportunity. You know, it's been given to you. It's been handed right to you. You know, on a silver platter. I
understand the dichotomy of that the hunt's over now. You know, it's a little, at some level, it's a little deflating in a way. You know, although you've had this great success and you got all that high elated feeling. Also, I'm done.
Right.
And the cool part about going up to him too was I already knew that it was the one that we were going after too.
Yeah.
You know, because he had these defined fronts that were just long and come out and curled up just right. You know, and I was like, "Ooh, that's the one I want." You know, and I got him.
Yeah, we had seen this elk the day before.
Yeah, and he's not the biggest bull out there by any means, but he's the one I wanted.
Yep.
And we got him.
And he's nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so we took into, and that's another thing, man, that's all new territory for me, is disassembling an animal that size out there in the field. It got warm. Mm-hmm. You know, the sun had popped over that mountain. That was one thing, like the very last day was the coldest night we had. But the minute that sun popped over that ridge, it was like a microwave come on, you know. I mean, it was just instant warm, man. Everybody's tearing off clothes. And that's a little bit, you know, we all have that question about meat stability and things like that, and that warmth. It didn't take long for the flies to start showing up. And that part, you know, I really thought maybe that was going to be like an all-day affair. taking apart the animal.
Yeah.
You don't really get to see that part when you're watching YouTube videos. They kind of show before and a little bit maybe during, and then it's done.
Mm-hmm.
But it went relatively quick in my world. I don't know, 2 or 3 hours, and we had to meet.
Most. Yeah, it wasn't 3
Had to
for
meet,
sure.
bagged up, and was heading down the hill to go put it someplace cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, yet so somebody else pointed out and said, because I did that time-lapse video while we were doing some of that. Actually, I got 2 pieces of it. The first time I did it in slow motion.
Oh,
I have a piece of film that's slow motion doing it. It's like, well, that's real entertaining.
Yeah.
But I took it and I ran it through my thing. I speeded it up after the fact.
Cool.
And it was like 20 minutes
Oh, wow.
of slow motion.
There's a knife cut.
Yeah. Slow motion knife work.
Yeah.
But somebody mentioned the teamwork element they saw in the time-lapse video of us all working together. And they're like, my dad said, he said, well, everybody made sure to get a knife in him, didn't they?
Yeah. It wasn't just a one-man job for sure.
Yeah,
It's not.
Yeah. And that's another great thing, because I can't imagine doing that by myself. Being up there and doing it solo. I really have no desire to go do that by myself.
Yeah, it didn't even seem like work as far as that goes. When you're with your friends, your fellows, that
bullshitting around,
yeah,
joking.
Everybody's having a good time, or it didn't seem like work at all. I enjoyed every moment of it.
I think whenever we all get sober, all of us are like, okay, the party's over. Now what the fuck are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
I personally
have fun
have this big fucking hole in my soul, right? That I filled with drugs and alcohol. And it filled it. It worked. Right? So when you take that away, what am I going to fill that hole with? And for me, man, I got those things that really fill me up, like these hunts and going on these adventures and teamwork with my brothers and doing these things, man. Those are the things that fill that hole now, and if I don't fill that hole, then I'm going to go back to what filled it before, for me. And that's why I couldn't have done this without you guys. I can't do this by myself. Like you're saying, I wouldn't have wanted to. I can't do this by myself. There's just no way I wouldn't do this by myself, man.
We saw the one solo hunter guy coming up the mountain, and that's, there are people that do that, and you hear them talk about it, but I really had no desire to do that by myself. One of the reasons I know that I don't kill anything anymore is because the work involved after the kill. Some of that is just flat. I don't want to do it.
Yep.
And the other thing is that I don't want my hunt to end.
Mm-hmm.
I like hunting off season, and by not getting anything, it keeps that purpose ahead of you. I know that's part of what I'm doing today with my pretending to hunt. A lot of meat on one of them suckers. I don't know when I pulled the hind quarter off the first time and how heavy it was. I was very surprised at just how heavy that hind quarter was.
Yeah.
That's without skin on it. I mean, the skin's pretty heavy too.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about 700-pound animal, on the hoof,
Yeah. There was just everything was new to me, and to some extent I felt like I was dragging up the rear, and not just literally in most of the time, because, I know that's the same basic anatomy as a deer, and I've taken deer apart, but that's a whole different scale of animal to deal with, and just stood back and helped where I could. Giant big back straps, just didn't take long, and we have a substantial pile of meat over on the tarp, putting it in bags that are pretty damn heavy. It would be nice to have. I would like to know how much those bags of meat actually did weigh.
Right.
But it doesn't really matter. Heavy enough that when we hauled them down, you knew it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Even Travis took 2 bags from up on top down to the lake.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was that had to be upwards of 60, 70 pounds probably. It might be conservative. I'm not sure. Yeah. But that's new to me, to pick them things up and hang them in a tree, because that just
does not compute.
Yeah, in my world, you get them on ice and in a refrigerator or something ASAP, and those things hung out there for days. But when you felt the bag of meat, man, it was cool.
Yeah.
And it was warm. It was warm out. But having them in the shade, I guess, and
close to a stream helps a lot.
Yeah, those bags of meat were cool to the touch.
Yeah, if you kept your hands there, your hands would get cold.
And I don't know about them game bag, if that's a rookie mistake or what it was about. Took us a minute to figure out about doubling them back over one another.
Yeah.
That's definitely a trick worth knowing. Because those I always thought, I've seen those things, and it's like hanging them in pantyhose or something, and they got runs in them if you weren't careful.
Yeah.
And frankly, they're just not tough enough to do what they do in one layer.
Yeah.
So that was a good trick, and we it was in no time that we had that animal disassembled. I do feel at some level that you leave a lot of meat on the mountain. But then again, you're carrying a lot of meat off the mountain too, and if you were closer to the truck, maybe you'd do a little more surgical removal of everything.
Right.
But under the circumstances, it's feel like you took a sufficient amount of it
for sure,
and that you can handle. One more trip of meat, probably one more bag of meat might have meant another trip. I mean, it could get to where you're hitting that threshold of having to come back up there again and get more.
And we did make 2 trips. I mean, we went down with a load of meat and came all the way back up with nothing.
Yep.
For another load of meat a few days later.
Substantial load going down again. Yep. And I don't know, it was pretty quick then that I don't know if it was right then or not, but we started making a plan of taking that meat down to the lake again. And
we ended up staying the night there.
We stayed one more night up there on top, and then we got up and hauled the meat down to the lake and came back up and then got our camp.
Moved it to the lake.
And then moved all our everything down. Yeah, we had a little rain delay, and that storm was coming. That's another thing up there. You can see a storm from a ways away. It just barely skirted us to the north, and there was some pretty good, according to the radar, there were some pretty good storms in that we avoided. And one of those things where, that rain's just enough adventure to get your attention, but didn't end up being a sog fest.
Yeah, I did not want to tear my tent down for sure, because I was like, as soon as I get this thing down, it is going to open up, and I'm going to wish I had this tent open. Yeah. And that was my luxury item that I took up there, was a 4-man tent. It was a lot of weight, but I was like, I'll skimp on something else to have that comfort, because last year I had this little bitty ass generic tent that it was miserable. And if it wasn't for the fact that Travis's dad had stashed a little cache of supplies up there the year before, and there was a 4-man tent up there that had just a small hole that a rodent had chewed in it. But we stayed in that last year. If it wasn't for that, I'd have been miserable, because that tent that I had, it was just so small and just was not comfortable. And I had to crawl through the snow to get into the tent, and it was just stupid,
Yeah.
So I was like, this year I'm going to have me a big ass tent where I can stand up and change my clothes in. And if it does rain, I'm fine,
Yeah.
And
that worked out to where Travis and I tore our stuff down.
Yep.
If that storm did happen to hit, we'd have room to all bail into yours until it passed over. And but it ended up really just spitting, sprinkled for a little while, and we got our stuff together and left that spot for good for the week.
Yep.
There was a little bit, I like it better up there. The lake is beautiful too. But you lose the perspective down at the lake to some extent.
Right.
I guess you could probably find a couple spots like where y'all went to sit in a meeting and stuff like that, where you can actually get another view. But
that night that I'd taken the elk, when we got back, we forgot this little part of the story. Travis that night wanted to go up on another peak and scout, and I did not want to make that travel because I was still kind of feeling under the weather because of the altitude sickness. So we'd already done all that work. I was like, I ain't going nowhere. I was like, I'll sit here at camp. I was like, I'll watch this bottom down here for you, and you can go up there, because I didn't want to walk up that mountain again. So he went up there, and me and you went over to the edge, and that's when we saw those 3 mule deer.
Sit there.
We sat there
down that meadow where mule deer were down close to the lake.
Yeah, and that's when we saw the 3 mule deer. That we had seen the 1 mule deer the day before when we were scouting for the elk, and so I knew where to look, and we were sitting there, and all of a sudden I looked down, there was 3 of them just right in the middle. I'm like, where the hell they come from?
Yeah, because we were just we glassed real hard every place, and then we kind of like, well, and so now we're just sitting here shooting the shit, and you went, oh, look, hey. And there was we watched them for quite a while.
We watched them for like an hour, it seemed like, and then we all rendezvoused back at the camp. So.
Yeah, packed up and went down to the lake
the next day.
The next day. We did eat some of that fresh elk tenderloin up on the high camp spot.
And thank you for bringing all the tools to do that.
Yeah, that's some of my extra I bought. I took a fishing pole and a frying pan thinking that I was going to catch fish and maybe do that. There was a fire ban in effect, so ended up cooking a little of that tenderloin in my little skillet on the jet boil. And it's just there's nothing quite like that.
No.
That fresh meat off an animal you killed, and you're out in the middle of God's paradise, and a whole lot of things stack up to make that a mighty cool deal and awfully good tasting food.
Mm.
I didn't eat any. Well, we talk about side dishes and that, but I didn't end up eating anything but
meat
elk that night.
It was delicious.
It was. And I think that was the last night we sat there. Me and Shane sat out for a little while and looked at stars and looked at that night sky, because it's another thing to get away from all that light pollution that you get here in town, and that sky looks completely different. I can't imagine that 11,000 feet elevation makes that much difference when how far away those stars really are. It feels like it does.
Yeah. I feel like you reach out and touch them, man. We saw quite a few shooting stars that night. That was cool too.
Yeah. I think the night before, when we marched off that morning, we saw those sheep again.
Yeah,
and,
every morning they were there.
And headed back down to the lake, set up camp down there. Still a beautiful spot. Got a couple pictures, and one of them in particular with my fly rod across there, because when that sun sets down there in that valley, once it goes over the mountain and it's still shining on the opposite hill, there's something real beautiful about that effect that happens when that sun is up there and not on you.
Like you're standing in the darkness, kind of, and the light's right there, like you can see it. Like reach out and touch it.
That was Sunday morning or Sunday. We hiked back down, packed up, and hiked down to the lake to go. And I'll say the way my understanding of it is that the elk were up higher, and so the first days we needed to be up there because that's where they were. Speaking of that, we saw some hunters on the way in that were bow hunting that were camping way down low, almost down to that split in a camping spot, and they were hiking up there to hunt, which doesn't make a lot of sense unless you might be under the impression that you camping in that area vicinity of the animals causes some problem. That's about the only thing I can figure about why somebody would do that, and that they have the perception that it bothers it will hurt the hunting. That'd be the only reason I can think of that a guy would rationalize camping that far away from where they're hunting when they didn't have to. The Travis has that experience from being up here, and and plus we saw mule deer down lower, and Travis had formulated a plan to be in that meadow where those mule deer were. Once again, I stayed at the camp, and you two took off.
We had like an hour or two, didn't we? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, my whole goal of this trip, like I set an intention to help Shane get his first elk. He had never killed an elk before, and it was my intention this trip, whether I filled a mule deer tag, I had a deer tag, whether I filled it or not, and I have hunted up there, like I said, about 15 times, and probably 8 or 9 of those times I've had a mule deer tag and never filled it. Never, ever filled it. So that point where I said a prayer, before that first morning, I said, God, if it be your will, I would really love for Shane to get his first elk on this trip, and if it's not, that's okay too.
You know, I'm just happy to be here and thank you, you know, for allowing us to be here. Anyways, well, Shane killed his first elk that first morning, that first hour, and I was like disappointed because the season was over that we had, but now it was my turn. Look, now I had a deer tag, and we still had like 8 days, and I had never filled a mule deer tag before, and I've always had a mule deer tag, not always, but half the time I always have a mule deer tag, and I never had a shot at a mule deer, and we had seen these mule deer down below the camp by the lake where we had moved down to, and we formulated a plan to get to that meadow where we had seen him the night before, and Shane wanted to come along because I was there for his elk kill, and he wanted to be there for my first mule deer kill, and I had no expectation of killing a mule deer, really, to be honest with you, because I had hunted mule deer so many times up there, and last year I had a mule deer tag, we didn't even see a mule deer. No. And I had never killed a mule deer before, ever, in all the years that I've hunted out there, you know, and me and Shane formulated a plan to get to this meadow. It was a little bit of elevation climb from the lake between where we were camping at and the lake, and with the help of OnX, you know,
see if we can get them sponsored.
Yeah, hit up Spiritual Underground Podcast to sponsor for OnX Hunt. Anyways, it's an app that shows you, you know, the terrain in a 3D kind of format. You can set waypoints on it and everything else, and we had kind of marked the point where those deer were at, and we said, well, they came out at 6:30 the night before. Let's get up there about 5:30, you know, and we'll be sitting there when they come out on this meadow, and me and Shane took off, you know, after we got down to the lake that second day, and we got up there. And another thing that I had said too in that prayer when I was praying about it, I said, because we were trying to figure out, I needed to do a third step prayer, and I was going through the work again with my sponsor Dan here, and I had needed to find a place to do a third step prayer, and I said, God, along with Shane's prayer, I said, and if it be your will, God, that I kill a mule deer this year, we'll do a third step prayer over that mule deer, over that kill site, you know, and if it's not your will, then that's okay too. You know, I always say, if it's not your will, that's fine too.
First,
it'd be cool if it was your will, but if it's not, I'm good with that too.
There's a little piece of where we knew that was where, you know, we went up to the third step decision in Travis's work prior to the trip, and it was just natural to, you know, my tradition is to allow a guy to pick a spot that's special to him to do his third step. And I always kind of say, joking around, as long as I don't have to drive more than an hour or get on an airplane, I will comply. But this trip was coming, so that was just natural to do that. And initially, he had pointed up at some point, see that peak up there? I'd like to do it up there.
The first day.
I was kind of like,
said
okay. I'd have walked up there. If you went up there, I'd followed you up there. I said I'd go do it where you wanted to do it. But definitely there was something inside of me that was like, I hope we don't do it up there. I wasn't about to remind you before we left. Oh, hey, man. But then by then we also did kind of have that thought of over top of your mule deer, you know, that was spoken before.
Spoken of at the elk, y'all contemplated it, but you're like, no, let's do it over the mule deer. That's when you were like, let's do the over the mule deer kill.
Yeah. So y'all slipped up there into that. Towards that meadow.
And we're creeping through the woods, you know, and it's crunchy and loud, and we're talking, and we're trying to figure out where we need to get to, because we can just see it on the phone app on the map. We can't really see. We're in the woods. The terrain is completely different than what it looks like on the map in your hand, you know, in your phone. And we're going up this mountain. We're following trails, and we're hoping that we're getting to where we need to get to without the wind switching and the deer being laying up there off the meadow somewhere. And we get up there close to the meadow, you know, what was it, maybe 50 yards off the middle of the meadow or so, and we're standing there talking, trying to figure out where we should get set up. We're like, let's build a little blind over here next to the meadow. We're just talking, just standing there, and all of a sudden I see something flicker out of the corner of my eye, and I said, don't fucking move. And I looked out on that meadow, and there was that fucking same deer standing there at 50 fucking yards away, not a fucking clue in the world that we were there. Just feeding along in the meadow, and didn't even the deer we had seen the day before and the day before that, and the deer that I said I would shoot if I saw him, it was him. He was there. Yeah. We thought he was by himself, so I just told Shane, don't fucking move. And I'm just standing there, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to shoot just free shot offhand shot. I need to get a rest. I need to put it up against a tree, put the gun for a good steady rest. And I took a step forward, and that deer's head shot up. And he heard me take that step. And I don't know how he never heard us walk up to the meadow. He never heard us talking. But when I took that step, he popped his head up, and I said, well, I'm going to have to take this offhand shot,
I'm not going to get a shot. So I pulled up, and that's when you heard me shoot from down at the lake. I mean, right after we walked off, you heard another shot. It's like, these motherfuckers killed something again.
And I didn't know. I knew that there was something that was a successful shot. It just dawned on me too. Those animals have that sense of like when they're being hunted and when they're not. And when you all were just walking through the park, screwing around,
right?
You're not putting off that hunter energy, But then once you saw it,
right?
The next little twig snap, was shot out with hunter energy.
Yeah.
And he went, oh, what was that?
Yep. So I dropped him right there in his tracks. And then we see 4 or 5 other deer running off. So there was a bunch of deer there that we just didn't even see. I don't know how we got all the way up to where we got to, 50 yards from them, walking through the woods talking. I mean, I know how we got there. I know how it happened.
There's something to be said about that energy you throw off.
Yeah.
Because if you're squirrel hunting, deer walk by you and they don't really care. And when you're deer hunting, squirrel walk by you and they don't really care. And whatever you're not hunting doesn't seem to be scared of you while you're out. Mm-hmm. And if you were doing that, you weren't really putting off that energy.
Yeah. I was super glad Shane got to be there. First cool. Mule deer in my life. Really, if you think about it, man, I mean, look, I've been sober 2 years, two years and some change, 2 hunting seasons. And the last 2 hunting seasons of my life have been better than all the other seasons ever that I've ever had. Yeah. The hunts have been so much more meaningful and getting to share this with you guys and getting to do these things that I love, man. And it's just fucking magic, man. It really is fucking magic.
The most satisfying days of your life lie ahead.
It's fucking true, man.
Satisfying days of your existence lie ahead.
It just keeps getting better and better and better, and I can't explain it. I don't know how it works.
Miracles.
It just fucking does, man.
So he told his part of the story, not my turn. So we had gotten down to the lake that night, and by this time it was almost evening. By the time we got everything down there, because of this little storm delay, and got everything set up, and I saw him gearing up to go out for a hunt, and I was like, man, I kind of feel like he wants to go out by himself, but I was like, he is going to get that mule deer tonight, and I want to be there, So I started gearing up myself. I was like, you going hunting? He's like, yeah. I was like, I'm going with you. He's like, okay, but we're going to be really quiet. 2 hunters in the woods makes more noise. It's like, I know, I can be quiet. But I just knew he was going to get this deer, man. So we set out, and we're starting to go up through this meadow, and it's really, really cool, man. There's a couple good spots, and like, man, maybe we should set up here. I don't know. If we don't find that, we're going to back down to this little area because this looks really good, And we started going up, and man, it was almost straight up. And he was looking on his Onyx and then everything of where it was, and we're like, we're not that much further. We're not that much further. I was like, all right, we're hopefully if we get up around this. He said if we get up around this rock right up here, that should flatten out. And we got up there and it got to that, and man, it just looked like Mecca. I mean, it was so beautiful up there and perfect. Like, this is it. We're here, And we start just easing through the woods, just real quiet, like just taking our time. I mean, super slow. We were going slow through there, and just trying to get our bearings on where is this meadow that we can see from the boulders above us, and we're going down through there, and taking our time. And I was like, man, I feel like we're getting close. He's like, that's it right there. I was like, yeah, I think so. And I was like, I think they were coming from the right, because we never did see where they were coming from. But I was like, the way they fed down, I was like, I believe they're bedding up right up here, over to our right. So I was like, let's get over to that big rock. Let's get over to that rock over there, and we'll see if that's close enough. When we get over to that rock, and we're sitting there like, man, this is awesome, blah, blah. And Travis, literally, we had just gotten there, gotten to that little spot, and he was like, don't move. And I thought he was fucking with me at first. And I was like, what? He's like, don't move. I was like, okay. And I just had to trust him because I wanted to look and like, what is it, And he just started raising his, I'm picturing it right now. He's raising his gun up real slowly. And he gets it up. And then he takes that one step that makes that twig break. And I could just tell that it enhanced all his senses. He's like, oh shit, it's go time kind of deal, you know what I mean? And because he was trying to get up to that tree to get up, and I still did not move. I was still focused on him, and I watched him the whole time. And then he just squeezed the trigger, and then boom. And then as soon as he squeezed the trigger, I turned, to look to see what was going on. And I just saw legs bouncing everywhere. I was like, you missed. He's like, he's down. I was like, no, there's legs going that way. He's like, there's more. I'm like, okay. I look over and I see his mule deer laying there. I'm like, oh, man. And it's, 50 yards away.
Yeah.
It's just right there. Don't know how they didn't smell us, hear us, or whatever. It's God. But still, it was just... Man, it was just the perfect. You couldn't lay down any better, for both of those hunts.
God thought I really needed to do that third step prayer. So.
Yes, he did.
Did you have to go at 12:30?
Yeah, about 12:30. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but that was it on that part of it, man. It was just awesome. I was grateful to be there and be part of it, and just experience him getting his first mule deer, and he was there the day before with me getting my first elk. So that's just a bond that you can't
so quick
buy.
Since like the intention of like you set out Saturday morning and dead animal in an hour or whatever, and then you set off Sunday evening and dead animal in an hour or whatever, but that just it was fundamental in the energy of the entire trip because the pressure was off.
Yeah.
And
the work
all we had to do was get the meat off the mountain, but we had plenty of days to do it. We didn't have to rush to hurry and get someplace. And y'all just field dressed that deer.
Right.
Yeah, we got
and,
it.
And I thought y'all hung it, but you didn't. You just propped.
We laid it open, propped it open, get some cold air.
So get it cooled down, and come back to the camp and got another one. And
we were going to cut it up, but we knew we had a third step prayer to do over top of it, so we couldn't.
So we come back in and we had some dinner and went to bed and went back after it the next morning. And that's when you all took me through the thing. And there was some pretty rugged territory between the camp and that.
Well, that night we did bring the deer tenderloins down. We cooked deer tenderloins that night. We had elk tenderloins the night before, and we went ahead and brought the deer tenderloins down from that kill too, and had those right on the frying pan.
Too. Yeah, no doubt. Definitely a difference. I thought it was good, but there's definitely a difference between the deer and the elk. The elk is a few grades above the deer.
Yep.
But still good. So then one of the things I regret is I wished I'd have videoed you some at the kill. I missed that.
Yeah.
And we did a little bit of podcast audio at Travis's. But then when I think it was because I was like focused in on doing, we was going up there to do this third step prayer that kind of distracted me from thinking about doing that.
I do have a little bit of video of him walking up to that deer.
Do you?
Mm-hmm. I'll share it with you.
Yeah.
I totally forgot
I can
about that.
modify that one video and add to it.
Put it in there, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to have that. So we went up before we started. So we do it before or after?
Yeah, we were
it's like
debating.
Before, which was the right decision.
Yeah, it was.
And Shane snuck off and went and gave us a little space. And, I've been fortunate to do a number of third step prayers over the last few years. And I'd be real hesitant to rank them because that ain't what it's about. But there was definitely something really special about doing it up there in that mountain with Travis specifically and kneeling down across the head of that beautiful animal. Just too, that buck is in velvet. So there's something real special of that because we're not accustomed to really getting velvet animals around here. You can in Kentucky. Hunting season starts early enough that you can have that happen. But I love that line at the end of that paragraph that says, "A great feeling was felt at once," and that does continue to be true every time I do that. And up there, it was definitely had some jacked up energy that I have not experienced in any other third step prayer before.
And I was actually able to feel that energy too, which was awesome too. Thank you all for letting me be part of it. I mean, I know I wasn't right there with y'all, but I was. I went over and sat on a boulder and meditated during that. And it was raining.
It was starting to sprinkle, light drizzle.
Yeah, light drizzle.
That's what my phone kept saying.
Yeah, and I was sitting on that boulder meditating, and I could feel that energy, and I started crying when y'all were saying your third step prayer, because I was reciting the third step prayer in my meditation. That was my mantra, my third step prayer. So it was really cool energy. So thank y'all for letting me be part of that too.
Anything to say about that?
I mean, I was crying. I don't know why. I was tearing up, man. I mean, just my hand was on the animal, and us saying our third step prayer together, and saying a prayer, each of us, and I think I was just so thankful, and so I just had so much gratitude at that moment. I mean, like I said, it was a completely new experience, and that's what this is for me, man. Right. I mean, if I'm going to be sober, I'm going to have some new experiences, and I'm going to do new cool shit, and I'm going to build these bonds with these men, and I'm going to, I was a pig out there. I'm going to be a pig in here too,
I say that set-aside prayer whenever I'm working with somebody, that setting aside everything we think we know about ourselves, the book, the steps, each other, but everything we think we know about God for a new experience in the work. And definitely that was that promise was fulfilled for a new experience in the work. No doubt about it, man.
Yeah.
So we disassembled that one. Packed it up. Didn't really have, it was pretty uneventful. There was a bird come down there. You all had told me about that, I think, in the past, maybe, but that was the first time one of them guys come down to a meat-eating bird.
Yeah, they almost looked like a cross between a seagull and a crow. Like they had the colors of a seagull and kind of like looked like a head of a seagull, but
And then while we were getting ready to pack out of there, we saw deer. Didn't we?
Right. On that meadow.
Yes.
There's some of us, they were slipping back in there. Yeah. Definitely a spot they wanted to be in.
Mm-hmm. I don't think a hunter's ever stepped foot in that area. Like, seriously, that's how off the grid kind of hidden it is, and hard to get to. It's like, man, I don't think anybody's ever stepped here before. Which is a cool.
The map wouldn't draw you to that spot. If you were up on top of the mountain like we were, you see it, but it doesn't look
how the hell you get there.
Attractive. Yeah, how you get there, and it doesn't look as attractive from the top of the mountain as it does when you're standing in it.
Mm-hmm.
So then we packed up that meat. One of the elements, and we've got about 20 minutes left, so we'll probably. But that's all that's the highlights for sure.
Yeah.
Was walking through that damn wet grass, and I think that ended up being a factor on what happened to the rest of the day, particularly to your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Had both of them. Me and you had gaiters, and we didn't put them on.
Yep.
We went back down to camp, and we stayed one more night.
No, we came on down. We came on down that day. We cut up that deer, and we came down that day. Didn't we?
I thought.
I don't remember now.
I was thinking y'all put that meat in the. We took the deer and put it over in the creek.
We packed elk out.
And then we packed elk out that night.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We took 3 of the 4 bags of elk and hiked down off the mountain. And by the time we got down that day, my feet were hot, like my brake pads were warm or overheated. The soles of my feet were hot.
Yeah.
The last trip down, I didn't experience that. But the last trip down, I put on a pair of fresh socks before I walked down the hill, too.
I did, too.
So I think that had something to do with the walking through that grass and those wet feet and all that. The first time was a lesson learned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the soles of my soul were wet.
Yeah. Yep. We went to town, went down there, got that meat out, put it in the cooler, went and got some ice, or vice versa, and iced down. And you have a gigantic cooler, and it filled that cooler 3/4 or so full. Then we got a hotel room. We got got a shower, which is one way I got a little thing about that, man. I really like that shower after about 8 days out.
Yeah.
And we didn't really get to experience that. We had a shower early.
Yeah.
But that still felt good. Got something to eat, spent the night in a hotel, and got up in the morning and headed back up there with empty packs.
We went to the meeting that night.
That was the night we went to the meeting. Yeah, we come back down and we went to the Granby meeting, supposedly the oldest clubhouse west of the Mississippi. 62 years, I think he said.
1946.
Yeah, yep. And that was good. That was really cool. Out-town meetings, and we throwed the juice on them. And
all two of them.
They weren't. Yeah, all two of them.
First out-of-town meeting I've ever been to.
That's cool too.
Super cool. Being the oldest AA meeting west of the Mississippi. I mean, there was a lot of, although there wasn't a lot of people in the meeting, there was a lot of juice in that meeting. I mean, it was coming out the doors, man. I mean, it was.
And they were just happy to hear stories.
It was
they hadn't
super
heard
cool.
Too.
Super cool.
The one guy just had a little bit under what you have as far as time is 2 years. Another guy had, I think, like 6 months or something like that. Yeah.
Yep. He had said he had some time before and lost it. COVID took him out. And, but yeah, that was super cool. I had some other thought about that. That's also where that thing that said I had to sit. That there's a whiteboard in there that said Leroy is not to be here.
Yep.
And I said, what's this up with this Leroy story here? And he said, oh, there's a story behind Leroy for sure, but that story is not going to get told tonight.
Yep, he did say that.
Well, okay, dang it. I want to know what you had to do to get kicked out of AA.
You're doing something. Get kicked out of AA.
But that definitely was, and I was too tired to go to a meeting. Mm-hmm. When we were in the hotel room and we were kind of just tapping fingers until it was time to leave.
Yeah.
But dang it, we missed it already once, and this was going to be our next chance and maybe the last chance, and it turned out that it was. I was. That's super cool. And just a little side note too. Just about a month before the trip, I'm on Facebook and I'm just surfing, and on one of the AA Facebook pages was Granby, Colorado, and there was some post made about that clubhouse. And it just there was alignment issues of that coming. I'm just paging and see Granby. That's what. What? I'll be danged if it wasn't. And they got a number of meetings in that little clubhouse every week, and we were able to jump in and be part of one of them, and bring some of our spiritual underground juice to Colorado. That was really cool. Head back, hit some sack. Head back up the mountain. We were on Easy Street from there.
Empty pack up a mountain.
Up that, and it's easier, but it's still a hell of a walk.
It's not easy.
It's 5.5 miles on my app from the truck to the lake, and and it's a 5-hour walk, or just a little shy of that. You're not doing much better than 1 mile an hour, or even no weight. So you get up there, and I didn't have anything to eat, and Travis, my ego wouldn't let me take a snack from him, and I was out of gas when I got up there, and that was meeting night. And I went and I got something to eat and took a nap, and then saying I woke up and it's like meeting's in 10 minutes, and I started to get that panic mode, and I shook that off. I was like, fuck that. I'm not going to get...
Fuck that game, True.
Yeah, fuck that meeting. So I just stayed around and did a little slow loop around the lake. Took a little leisurely stroll. I didn't even take my fishing pole with me. Just went for a little walk while y'all were in a meeting, and off to bed again. Anything you want to add in?
Yeah, we had... I had already had this little spot set up because I thought we were going to be able to do it right there at the lake, and I had the antlers in the background and everything set up just right where we could sit all three right there in front of the tents and the mountain view behind us, blah, blah, blah. And I pushed start meeting and it said failed. I was like, fuck.
Because you thought you had the service. I thought I had service,
and I didn't. And so then we finally said, well, I guess we're not going to be able to get on the meeting, So we kind of went around the lake, walking around a little bit and just checking things out. And you had said something about, man, if you go up on that trail, I bet you get that meeting. And I did not want to walk back up another hill because we had just walked up the mountain, And I was like, all right, I'll go give it a try. And I ran over there and got on right when the meeting started, and it let me in. And I was like, yay, yay. I didn't hear nobody else calling back, and I was like, man, I don't know if they hear me or not. I don't want to lose. I want to get on this meeting. So Travis ended up walking up right in time, and then I'll let him take over from there.
Yeah. Okay.
We ran the meeting.
Sorry.
We'll be on the spot. We just, it was our home group meeting Tuesday night. And it was pretty cool to be able to.
Was good
My sponsee Josh was giving the lead, and I didn't want to miss that. And his first lead ever, it's a big fucking deal, man. And our home group's a bunch of men, and it's fucking intimidating, dude. It's intimidating for me to talk in front of these men. These are fucking. These are some badass motherfuckers, man. This group of men that we run with, and I was super proud of him, man. It brought tears to my eyes getting to see him give that lead, and it was cool just being on top of the mountain and getting to see all the guys' faces and them asking us if we ate Dan and
you were my sponsor.
Where's Dan? He wouldn't miss this meeting. Did y'all kill him?
So it was really cool, man. That we got that service for an hour and was able to make that meeting super cool.
Yeah, I had some FOMO going on, but I overcame that, knowing also that we were leaving soon too. That tomorrow we were walking back down that mountain, and I wanted to soak a little more of that in before I left too. Stayed up a little bit that night, had an illegal campfire, and that's the only night we really stayed up.
Yeah.
Every other night, man, pretty much the time it got just a little past dark, you were crawling in the sleeping bag. We got up the next morning, man, y'all cut the rest of that mule deer up, and we started packing up for home. Definitely go home day. I always say that has some energy in it that I don't like. Usually want to get go home day behind me. There's an urgency that sits on me that I just want to get packed up and done. I'll have it even at Fargo if I'm just down there for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. When Sunday comes along and it's a go home day, I just basically want to pack up and get home.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about folding up camp, almost like a depression sort of.
I'm the same way.
It's like, well, this is over. Fun's over. Let's go home. We loaded up those packs. You had antlers on the backs of both of you guys. Had a whole lot of meat and a very successful and fulfilling and every other adjective I can think of trip. Man, I was 100% happy with my gear, besides bringing stuff I didn't need.
Yeah.
But, that's just something you have to do as a rookie. You have to bring shit that you don't need so that you know that you didn't need it. And I understood that going into it, too. That's kind of funny that I watched enough and heard enough, and with your guys' advice and all that, I knew it, but it didn't change a thing. But that'll help me be better next time, because before going and doing this trip, I said the anticipation was so high that I said to myself that I think I want to do something like this every year the rest of my life, or as long as I can possibly do it.
Yep.
After that first day on the mountain, I wasn't so sure about that anymore. But I also knew with the awareness that would bypass and that my view would change, and just, I'm not going to draw I know today in recovery, you don't draw no lines in the sand, and say I'll never do this or always do this, I'll let that go. And by the time, I don't know, at some point it certainly come to me that I wanted to do more of that. Definitely something very special about it. We packed up, walked back down that mountain. I felt like great shape all the way out of there, even though I had a load probably exceeded my initial load. I think I'd learned to fit my backpack better over the week's time. That was one of the things that I learned while I was there. I don't think you can learn that any other way. You can't do that with bags of salt and do that kind of stuff. You have to actually put it into practice to get to knowing how to do it. You're stronger when you leave than you were when you got there, both mentally and physically.
Your lungs.
Your lungs
know how to handle it.
to the air. And you're also on the way down. I suppose there's probably some element that the oxygen level is rising as you go down, so that makes it also better. I didn't really struggle at all getting down.
Yeah, the breathing part for me on the way down was a lot easier.
Definitely interesting, because we all had a little pep in our step and was getting down off of that mountain, seeing day hikers. That was another joke of the trip. Shouldn't make fun of those day hikers, but we did it anyway. got a motel, got to meet down there, and had to go buy some other coolers because we exceeded the capacity of the cooler we had, and spent one more night, went out for one more shower, one more meal, and one more night in the hotel before getting up and heading home. Trip was uneventful for the most part on the way home, although during Shane's drive there hit a big crash, and you sit still on the highway for a long time.
Hour and 40 minutes.
And now it's like that.
1 in the morning.
Yeah. When we left, I put in Travis's address, and it told us we'd get there about 6:30. But we had the delay didn't change our arrival.
Because I can drive fast.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. I slept through most of it, but I didn't feel any guilt about that because I knew it'd be my turn up to bat here shortly, and and I needed to have some wheels under me to be able to do that. There was something come to me as we was leaving. It was a pretty simple 3 little phrases: amazing men, amazing destination, and an amazing experience. Words similar to where, those views we see up there, you can't put into pictures. Pictures do, the proverbial cliche, pictures don't do it justice. And words certainly can't do the experience justice either. And I'm just glad that my life has periods in my life where my life contains times that cannot be adequately explained. You had to experience it. It's kind of like this work too, the steps. You can't tell somebody what the steps is going to do and what it's like and how it works and all that kind of stuff. You have to experience it in order to understand it. And then you still can't. You still can't describe it. Well, let's go around the room and do some concluders. And we'll wrap this thing up.
Go ahead, Shane.
Thank you, Travis. Concluder. Well, there's not much else that I can say that hadn't been said already about everything. But yeah, like you just said about being able to put this into words is virtually impossible because it's the experience that we had that is unique to each and every one of us that makes us feel some kind of way. That cliche word that we don't like. Feel some kind of way, but it is unexplainable. You have to experience that, and I suggest if you're not experiencing these type of experiences, to do so in your life. We're only here for a limited time, and we don't know when that time is going to end. So I try to live each one of my days to the fullest every day, and enjoy life for what it is. The moment we start living. And the moment we're born is the moment we start dying, from the way I look at things. So we are here for a very limited amount of time. And that time is precious to me these days. For so long, I just gave that time away, and I'm actually experiencing life now. I feel alive for the first time in my life this past 5 years. And I don't want to go back to where I was. And I want to experience these experiences with other men and teach these other men how to experience life the way it was meant to be experienced. So that's about all I can say. Shane Gibson, Alkaholic. Thank you.
Yeah. If you're not having a blast in your recovery, it's your own damn fault because it is available to all.
I just want to say thanks to you guys for showing up for me. Like I said, if I wasn't having a blast in my recovery, then I wouldn't be sober. You know what I mean? Like if I'm not out here pushing these limits and trying to have new experiences and doing these things, and what am I doing this for? When I start asking myself questions like, why am I doing it? Why am I sober? What's the point? That's when I'm not pushing these limits of trying to experience new things. And there's so many things out there, that like climbing mountains and doing like all the things that I dreamed of doing, in my younger years and stuff that was so important to me and part of my core values and part of who I am, that they just didn't become important anymore. They just got left behind because drugs and alcohol became more important to me. than anything. It was more important than my family, and it was more important than my career, and it was more important than my core values, you know, and that's what this work and the 12 steps have given me is it's that bridge, man. It's that bridge back to myself, and it's that bridge to God. And I couldn't have done this without you guys, man. I couldn't do this without you guys. I don't want to do this without you guys, you know, and I just want to say thank you all for showing up for me. And I can't wait for next year.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, man.
Start planning a new trip. And anybody can do this. I want to say that. Anybody can do this, man. Anybody can do what we're doing if you put in the work.
You put in the work.
You know, a lot of people want it, but very few people do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to say, thank you all both for being there and experiencing that with me and being part of that experience that made it even better. I love both y'all to death, and y'all mean so much to me. Like I say, it's hard to put into words what you all mean to me, you know, and y'all are both a big part of why I stay sober. So thank you. I love you guys.
Yeah, man. We're out here creating memories, dude, that we're never going to forget this.
Nope.
We're never going to forget this. These moments and these things that we're experiencing together, it will never be forgotten, dude. Those are the things that I need to be doing in my recovery. You know, that I need to be pushing those times that I get to experience these things with my fellows and do these things that fill my soul, man. And you guys are a huge part of that. So I love y'all.
Well, we deal with regrets and things like that, and there's some lines in the big book that talk about that. But one of the things I try today is hope that whenever the end does come, that I have as few of those as possible. Mm-hmm. That I'm not wish I would have or wished I hadn't of, and that kind of stuff. And the item, if I was to say it 100% accurately, if I have a bucket list item, it is to bow hunt elk in the mountains. And this frankly satiated that. You know, that if something happens to me tomorrow, that one got checked off the list as far as I'm concerned, because it was every bit, you know, it fulfilled that to every bit of what I would want. Mm-hmm. You all were successful, and I get to do that. One thing that I can say for certain is, among many things, but one thing for sure is that we all showed up for this trip, showed up fully. Right, brought our entire full true selves to it, and put everything that we had or we needed to put into it. We did that, and there's something to be said for that and that energy when we, you know, the bonding moments and the kind of things that we did this together. Mm-hmm. You know, besides getting sober together and living life sober together, we go out and have these adventures together too, and just one of many, right? So thank both of you all. Thank both of you. I love you both, and for showing up. And I couldn't, like we all, to echo the same sentiment. There's no way I couldn't have done this alone. This is the definition and the wisdom that's inside these steps continues to educate me and continues to mean more and more for me. And you know, that we thing that we did this, you know. As Earl says, this thing goes so much further than just not drinking and drugging. Mm-hmm. So much. So, thank you both. Thank all the listeners out there for allowing the three of these men to participate in our recoveries. And this is, man, doing trips like this is participation in my recovery. No two ways about it. Shane almost dropped his crystal. So I will say for the final time, if you are not having a blast in your recovery, it is your own damn fault, because it is available. We are not unique here in that we're having these opportunities that others will not have. Your opportunities may vary, but your opportunities to have a blast in your recovery, they're available. Peace out.
Always tried to be just who they wanted.